Good evening, everybody. This is the Political Theater. Thank you guys for joining us this evening. This is episode 113. This is Walter Curt and Trash Discourse. Thanks for joining us this evening, guys. Make sure you guys share this link out everywhere that you're watching us. If you're on Substack, X Live, or in X Spaces with us in person. Thank you guys for being here. And if you're on Apple or Spotify, make sure you guys give us a review and share the link out for the show. So before we do anything, the first thing I have to note is obviously that it's obviously to everybody that there are an enormous amount of Democrats panicking on the timeline, just incredible amounts of Democrats panicking on the timeline. So I don't know exactly what they're doing, but they're just freaking out on every single level. They're talking about everything that they can possibly do to get people to be upset with the Republicans, even though I don't know what to say. They're not, their messaging is not landing. Let's put it that way. But they now, of course, now they have this new story that's come out from Politico, and they're claiming that this story from Politico is the end-all, be-all for Republicans, that this is, oh my goodness, there are some college Republicans that are somehow, there's some group chat on Telegram that they're in, and this somehow is equivalent to Jay Jones's story, which is just completely nonsensical. I mean, I don't know how anybody thinks that there's an immoral equivalent between a group of online, Republican, people in a Telegram chat talking to each other and comparing that in any way to Spanberger and, Jay Jones's text messages wishing the deaths of his political opponent's children. There is no moral equivalence between those two, not even remotely. I don't know how they're trying to spin this and trying to act as if this is a thing. It's not a thing. It's not a thing at all. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know how you think that this is a thing. It's not, okay? It's just not. There is no way that this is a thing. You can continue to talk about it and act as if it is, but it isn't. What I will say about these people on this Politico story is, okay, I don't really care, to be honest with you, about whatever the context is. You shouldn't have said it in the first place. I mean, I don't need to denounce you or something. You guys. There's no equivalence between the two stories. But I will say, how stupid are you to send messages in 2025 for any reason that can be used in any context like that? Like, you guys are in college, right? I mean, you should know that everything you say online anywhere can be used against you at some point. So, there is a concept called integrity. And here's the easiest way to practice integrity. The easiest way to do that is to not intentionally not send messages out that is going to cause some sort of major problems for you in any way in the future. I mean, I don't care if you're texting your grandmother. Make sure you text whatever you send your text to your grandmother. Make sure it's the exact same text message that you would send to 1,000 people. It doesn't matter what the message is. You just keep it very consistent, and then you don't have these problems. It's not a problem you have in the future if you do not send things on a regular basis. So that's the first thing there. I just want to make sure we note that out there. But there is no equivalence between the two stories. So we'll get into that. We'll get into a lot more of this. There's the Charlie Kirk story today that he has been awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom posthumously, which is fantastic. It's a great thing. I'm very happy that happened. That needed to happen. It was important. But we've got a lot more to get through other than just that. There's other stuff to get into. So thank you guys for joining us here on the theater this evening. And we've got a lot more to go. So what's up, Trash? What's going on, man?
Yeah, good. Hey, I sent you a couple messages, text and a DM. You're cutting out every minute. It seems like every 60 seconds it's going meow. I'm not sure if there's something you need to reboot on your end, but everything's going good. And it's funny. We didn't talk about the title as people. If people don't know, we do not pregame these episodes every night. This is completely off the cuff. And if you're saying that I'm doing the same, then it's space. So I guess we're just going to have to deal with it, I guess. Or maybe I can shut it down and restart it. I don't know. But so we didn't talk before this. This is simply my observation, and it sounds to me like it was Walt's observation today, that the Democrats are really confused on where they're going to go with messaging. That the media is really entirely confused what to do with their hands because of what Trump has done with, over in the Middle East. And of course, the posthumous Medal of Freedom given to Erica Kirk today at the White House, the first time a Medal of Freedom had an engraving on the back with a cross, which is interesting as well. And so it's also would have been Charlie's 32nd birthday, I believe, today. So rest in peace, Charlie Kirk, and happy birthday. With that being said, I really do think the story is, and I guess I'll comment on the young Republicans thing. First of all, this is why I'm not in group chats because I'll get lumped in. A bunch of people say stupid shit. It's a group chat. But to your point, I have no illusion that is any way secure, safe, or won't make it out to the internet. Now, I'm seeing some rumors about some things, but I don't really know, and nor do I really care that much about it. I guess it's fodder for the internet world because Politico doesn't really reach anywhere beyond the internet inside the Beltway and for Democrats and strategists. So whatever. I mean, I guess they can go with it. They can use it. But that's about how much I care about any of that stuff. So
Yeah,
my advice to people is stay out of group chats.
I mean, that's the deal, right? Like, what are you doing in a group chat if you think that the people aren't going to take that and use that? Like, you're nuts, okay? Like, I don't care what group chat you're in. I'm in a ton of group chats, okay? I'm in all sorts of them. But the answer is it's very easy. Only say something that in a group chat or that you would post. It's the same thing. It doesn't matter where it is. You never say anything that can be used against you in some sort of horrible way in any text form anywhere. It doesn't matter where you send it. Just be very consistent, okay? Like this is why I brought up the idea of integrity, and there's a reason that integrity, like the idea of integrity, just for one thing, okay, just saying, okay, you want to make sure that you're doing the same thing behind the scenes that you are in public. Yes, that's one aspect of it, but there's another reason for that, because it's way easier. Like, it's so much more complicated to have to operate where you don't know what it is that you said in different scenarios. Like, why would you want to do that? Why would you not just say like when I'm talking in public, and this is, I think it's interesting, like specifically on this space, we don't pregame these things, okay? We don't sit down and come up with scripts or something beforehand. Like every now and then I'll write a monologue or something like that. But generally, all of these shows are completely live, 100% off the cuff. We sit down and start doing the show. That's what we do. We don't talk about it prior. We may send each other messages throughout the day to come up with like, what general things. Hey, this looks interesting. Let's talk about that. Hey, let's look at that. But we don't ever sit down and be like, okay, we need to make sure we have this narrative. We need to make sure we talk about this in this very specific. That doesn't happen. Okay, that's not what we do. This is 100% off the cuff every time because we say this. If you talk to me in public, I talk the exact same way. I don't change anything about the way I speak in public. I'm not talking about in public as in like public speaking like this, but I'm talking about just generally. If you met me at the bank and you had a conversation with me, it'd be the same conversation you're having right now. It'd be the same thing. I don't act any different then. I talk to my family the same way that I talk to me. There is no difference. And it makes it life much, much easier if you just operate where everything you say is the same on multiple different platforms and multiple different ways. This is the better way to go about it. It is. It just simply is. It makes life much more simple for you as a person if you don't have mixed messaging that can be used against you in different contexts, okay? Anything that I've ever sent in a DM, to a text message, to a group chat, it's all the same. It doesn't matter to me. Something just fell off of my wall. That's nice. But anyway, this is all the same. It doesn't matter to me. I don't change the way that I talk about it. But this is the integrity aspect. So now these guys are in the Politico story. They're trying to use this as a way to justify the Jay Jones stuff, which is just hysterical to me. Like, there's no comparison. Like, there's not a comparison whatsoever to this. So they can try all they want on that, but that's just not going to work out for them. I don't care. Denouncing these guys that said stuff in a stupid group chat, whatever, like, you shouldn't have said it. That's your dumb decision for having these things come out in the first place. You shouldn't have done it. But outside of that, I don't really care. Like, I mean, it's like, who are these guys? I have no idea who any of these people are. None of them are running for office as far as I'm aware, are they? I mean, I don't know if any of them running for some major office or something.
Eventually, I'm sure. I mean, eventually they will. I mean, maybe. But again, it's group. I just don't care. Okay, so like, flip it on its head for a minute. Why do we never see leftist group chats leaked? Because the stuff that they say in there is probably horrific, to be fair. Like, literally, like we saw what Jay Jones talks about. We see what these people talk about. We saw the cancel apocalypse after everybody was celebrating Charlie Kirk's murder. Could you imagine what they say, what they believe to be in their private group chats? I know I've seen a lot of group chat logs when it comes to these militant accelerationists, and you think dark jokes are bad? Holy moly. So again, it all goes one way. And it's also a result of some internal infighting, from what I can tell. This didn't come from the left. This came from the right itself.
Yeah, probably. Go ahead, Chris.
It's also why, shout out to the youth out there and everything that they're doing in organizing. But guess what? Young kids are going to do mistakes. They're not. I don't know what. I haven't even looked, and I don't even really care to look because the reality is it's literally a group chat with a bunch of Zoomers, right? Like, at
Exactly.
some point, somebody has to be mature in the room and say, okay, we're talking about college kids or teenagers, not Jay Jones, a guy who's running for statewide office. You know what I mean?
Running for
Com-
the law enforcement official. That's the key
right.
there, right? The top law enforcement official. That's a major difference between that and some freaking Republican Zoomers in a group chat. Like, come on, what are you doing?
Yeah, you're not running. You're not, as someone who has served as the right hand to an attorney general, you are not running for, Congresswoman in inner St. Louis. Jay Jones is running for an attorney general's office, the top law enforcement officer in the state of Virginia. And when people like that make comments like that they did, that they've made in text, I mean, imagine what they're saying not in writing, right? And so they're struggling, man. They're struggling to find a message. They had a really bad week, and obviously this one's gotten off to a historic bad level for them because of what Trump has thankfully accomplished, right? And so now they really have to find their way, and I don't see that happening for them. I do know. I mean, listen, I have friends I worked with, obviously in the game for a long time ago that are still, Facebook friends or whatever. They'll message me once in a blue moon or whatever it is, and I have seen some of them. These are not elected officials, by the way, that have made really positive comments about what Trump has accomplished in the Middle East. But you're not seeing any elected officials making those positive comments, except for like Fetterman and maybe one other, right? And that's the problem with the party. The American public sees this and they're like, dude, you can't even commend something like this. Like, that's immature. It's despicable.
Well, I mean, but the big thing is like, yes, they've obviously had a horrible week. Okay, there is, and here's the other part of it is that they struggle horribly with messaging, and they've been struggling horribly with messaging for months now. So anytime there's anything they can use, they all jump over it. Oh my God, this is the most horrible thing ever. Did you not see how horrible this is? The most horrible of horrible things has happened. Like, no, it's not. Okay, like you guys have a group chat with some young Republicans. I don't even know if they're current, like if they're current members of that, or if this is like an old group chat. I have no idea who any of these people are. Like, I don't know any of the people in this group. I've never heard of any of them. I don't know if they're important or if they're not important or if they hold positions that are super important. I don't know. I mean, some of them say that the Politico reporting said that some of them have, have some sort of positions of staffing positions and whatnot. But again, you're trying to compare that to the Jay Jones stuff. That's the problem I have with it. Like, if you just said this is bad, that's fine. Okay, that you can say this is bad. I'll say that this is stupid on their part. Like, what are you doing? Like, you're sending messages in a group chat that you think that's never gonna leak. I mean, if you're on Telegram, why don't you have it automatically deleting messages in the first place? Like, are you guys idiots? Like, I don't understand. But anyway, you move outside of that. All of the people that are condemning this, that are screaming about it on the left, none of them, and I mean none of them, have come out and denounced Jay Jones and said he needs to leave the race. Not one national Democrat, not a single one of them has come out and told Jay Jones he needs to leave the race. Not one. Okay? He hasn't even lost endorsements. Let's say even they not condemning him, they haven't even pulled endorsements from the guy. There is no comparison. There isn't. There's no comparison between the two. If you were consistent, then I'd be like, okay, you're consistent on it. But most people are not consistent at all. Okay, they're not. They're all oh look, this is just as bad as Jay Jones. No, it's not. Okay, it's just not. It's not even sort of comparable. These guys are morons. They're young kids that are in some group chat, and they all said a bunch of dumb stuff. And they like. I love that even the Politico reporting said this one had the reacts from these people. Like, oh my goodness, you people are such. It's insufferable, to be honest with you. But again, none of these people are running for major office and anywhere in the country, and certainly not running for the Attorney General of Virginia. So please, Democrats, try and make this moral equivalence between the two. Like, if you want to continue down that road, go right ahead. But I don't think it's going to work out for you the way you think it is. And so I think it's just going to attract more attention to the Jay Jones stuff. And JD Vance, by the way, had the perfect response to this. And Jay Jones, he immediately called it out. He said, it's far worse. Anything that said in this college group chat, and the guy who said it could become the AG of Virginia, refused to join the pearl-clutching, powerful people who would call for political violence. Okay, like that's the correct response, okay? Like, I'm not going to sit here and say that, oh, my goodness, we must disavow every single one of these people. I don't know who any of these people are. I mean, what do you mean? I had to avow them first, right? Like, do I have to know who they are to be able to even say anything about them in the first place? And this is some random group chat for a bunch of college students. Sorry, I just don't see the comparison. You can try and make it, but I just don't. Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm not buying it. And nevertheless, we are back, and it looks to me like I think I fixed most of our audio issues. So if we fix the audio issues, we should be able to play clips and have them actually work properly. Now, I don't know what I did. I don't think I did anything, actually. So, it's very funny that that's the way this works for us. So whatever. Let's see if this actually does work. I'm going to play this clip here. This is Katie Porter refusing to just, what is this here? The Katie Porter clip that you sent me?
Oh, it's fantastic. I sent this to you. I haven't even set this clip up yet. Katie Porter. I don't know. She is back. She is back. This is a newer interview.
Oh, look at it. She's got a whole new she's got a whole new outfit and a whole new look and a whole new getup. Look at that. Look at this. I mean, this is
no overhead lights.
Oh my goodness, man. This is
no staff to yell at.
No staff in the background. She's got a green screen and all of it. Let's see what she's got to say here.
The interview with the staffer. Can voters be confident that there won't be another one of those videos that's going to come to light?
What I do know is that I could have done better in that situation.
But that's not a no. So is there potentially another video that we're going to see?
Nikki, I'm going to be honest with you. I know that video was several years ago, as you know, and I apologize to the staffer. That's super important to me, and will continue to try to hold myself to do better. That's what I can promise.
But not that there's not going to be any more videos, because that's what people are wondering. Are we going to see something else like that?
I can tell you what I've told you, which is that I am taking responsibility for this situation. And I'm also not going to back down for fighting back for California, from being tough. I don't think this is a moment where the same old is going to cut it. But that doesn't change the fact that what I did to that staffer was wrong. I've acknowledged it to her in that moment.
Okay, so wait a minute here. Let me get this straight. She's acknowledging just the staffer video. Note she's not talking about the reason that she went viral, the atrocious interview that she had. Like the extremely atrocious interview that she had. So she's not talking about that. She's just talking about the one where she told her staffer, "Get out of my shot." Just. Oh man, Porker. You are just infinite amounts of content for us. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being around here, Porker. We really do enjoy you, and that's pretty funny to me that she's that's her comment. That, it's just this. I feel bad for that staffer that I screamed at and then definitely fired. I definitely fired her. I fired her immediately, and then I fired her replacement after she also got in my shot as well. So, I love it. It's so funny to me that this woman is even remotely coming out here and having to defend herself. Like, it's over, lady. You're not coming back from this. It's just not happening.
No, she's not coming back from this. That's my point. Like, you remember when I found that clip? It was before it went viral. I'm not talking about the one where she berated her staff. I've seen that one years ago because I knew who she was. But remember when I sent that interview with the CBS reporter, the CBS San Diego, I believe, reporter, which was like, asking follow-up questions. How dare she? I said, "Oh, I think people are going to learn who Katie Porter is finally." And she's not my rep. I just remember seeing her interviews on the trans stuff. I would see her interviews on the BLM stuff, on the Summer of Love crap, on COVID and masks and everything else. I saw it all. And I was like, oh, this woman's about, you guys are about to see all kinds of things come out about her. And it doesn't stop. She doesn't know how to get out of her own way. And the real thing about Katie Porter, and I'll be serious for a moment here because she's just too funny. It's content goldmine. But the real thing about Katie Porter is she's kind of like the epitome of your average midwit HOA president, or people that you would call Karens, or the ones that are laying down on rainbow sidewalks, or really the politicians who really didn't have to do anything on merit because either A, they had the voting systems gamed, which we know how they've done it. They had basically D plus 30 support. So it didn't really matter what you were about as long as there was a D next to your name, which is why I've advocated for years for R and D to be removed from the names, but they'll just game the list of how they're listed on the ballot. So we have to fight that too, but that's still a thing. But it's really the epitome and shows you how inept and stupid most of these Democrats are. Now, there are some very, very talented and smart Democrats. They just chose evil versus truth, but that's besides the point. They saw they could make money with Democrats, and they weren't wrong. I mean, it's been completely corrupt for a long time. But she really is kind of like the avatar for these people who have lived in this bubble, this astroturfed reality, where they didn't have to say anything that made sense. They didn't have to actually say or stand on merit at all, and they simply passed through, and the most horrific characteristics of themselves come out to the public, and they don't know how to handle it. There's a million ways that Katie Porter could have handled this, and I would have charged her a large sum of money to teach her how to handle it. I probably wouldn't have done it anyway because it's way more content gold for me to watch her flounder like this. But isn't it the epitome of essentially what we're dealing with and what we're fighting against for a long time now?
Yeah, I would say so. You know, it's amazing to me that we see someone I do love when the Democrats do this. Like, in fact, there was somebody just a few minutes ago that was saying, well, you know, aren't the Republicans, look at that, they're coming out here and saying, how horrible is it that someone found out about these text messages from the group chat on Politico? It's like, did you not hear the debate that Spanberger, she actually said that exact line. She said, well, you guys just held on to it for so long. Like, oh, okay. Like, so you're just mad that it came out. Like, just, you know, I don't, again, for this whole Politico story, I don't really care. Like, I don't know any of these people. I don't know why this is important at all. Some random college group chat. But, you know, of course, the things came out about one of your candidates, and now you're trying to spin this against us somehow. I don't care. You know, you can do whatever you want, but it's not the same, and it's not going to be the same. But I do find it funny that the Democrat, oh my goodness, this came out. Now I need to come out here and apologize. Like, the big difference between, here's the big difference. Okay, you saw in the Jay Jones stuff a revelation of what that guy actually thinks, like what he thinks behind the scenes. When you saw in the Katie Porter stuff, when you saw the way that she acts in interviews and how she treats her staff, that's a revelation of how they actually think. What you see in the Politico story is a group of college students in a group chat chatting back and forth with each other, being ridiculous and stupid. Like, there's a big difference between the two. Okay, like there really isn't a comparison. But of course, they want to try and make it like that. I mean, they can do whatever they want, but that's not even remotely the similar. It's very funny to watch, though.
No, it's hilarious, and I'm here for it, and it's a lot of fun. And I got to be honest with you, what's really fun about it to me is that it's like one of those binder issues for me, right? You know, the binder. Well, we were right. I just couldn't for the life of me for so long figure out how this woman happened to traverse into the place that she is in politics, and there was nobody else. I learned more about her. Apparently, she, as an attorney, I guess, or out of a group, went after corrupt, businesses or whatever. That's kind of how she made her bones, I guess. But she's not a smart person. She's an evil person. She has a dark, disgusting soul. You can tell it just by the way she treats people around. You know, one of my rules when I was dating was I would watch very closely how the woman I was dating would treat service employees and waiters and servers, or people simply picking up garbage, or people that were just doing their job. How she would treat those people was a very big indicator to me of what kind of character that person had. A big tipper. I worked in service industries when I was, college age, whatever. But that's really besides the point. Everyone's trying to do their job. And you can tell a lot about a person by the way they treat these people. It's the same thing that goes with staff. These people are working their ass off for you and giving you taking your ridiculous Starbucks order and taking a ridiculous amount of flack and crap by somebody that's far less intelligent, most likely, than they are to begin with. So it's not a shock to me at all that these disgruntled staffers leaked all these videos. And here's the other thing. What's crazy about Porker is that it didn't need to be leaked because she would do this live. That's how bad she is. It wasn't like relegated to like the behind the scenes, which we've all heard stories. We know. A lot of us know staffers on the Hill. A lot of us know people who, move and shake within political winds and worlds, inside and outside the Beltway. I've heard plenty of stories about a lot of people that would shock you. But this one's very special to me because I really despised this one for a long time. And I'm very happy to have a platform, thanks to people who follow me and follow us and share this space and listen to our recordings, that I can finally get my just due on this woman because I have despised her for a very long time.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the correct response to this. Like, I mean, this woman has been. I do find it funny that she's become like a pariah now because of that interview, which is still, I think, the worst interview that has ever happened. I don't know if there's. Have you ever seen a worse one? Have you ever seen a worse one? I haven't seen a worse one yet. So
No.
someone has a worse interview out there of a major politician that's running to be governor somewhere. Please send it to me because that's what I'm here for. And to be honest with you, that's the entertainment that I need. Just like I'm waiting for the day that there's a real book about Kamala Harris's campaign. Like from an internal staffer or something, like somebody that actually knows what happened. Like I will pre-order that thing the day it comes out. That's the stuff I live for. That's the entertainment I enjoy. But this stuff is so funny to me. Like no one's gonna like Katie Porker, whatever her name is. Porker. I think it's Porker. I swear it's Porker.
Okay.
I swear it is. I know it's a K. But it's just amazing to me that this is the kind of stuff that like this is what she acts like on a regular basis. That's the thing. She acts like that on a regular basis. Her own staff is the one that is sending this stuff out. So they were like, do you know who the staffer, I guarantee you the staffer that happened to, like, they get out of my shot. As soon as she saw that interview go viral, she was like, send it to the press. Send it right away. Nuke that thing. Send it out there. Like, that's how that happened because she's like, oh, I've got you now, woman. Like, that's exactly how that happened.
I think everybody listening to this space probably knows this, but just in case you don't, let me put it on the recording and put it out there in the ether. I know a lot of women that are in politics. Maybe they work for campaigns. Maybe they work on the Hill. Maybe they work in some kind of capacity or some kind of think tanks or whatever. And I can tell you, the better they are, the more petty they are, should anybody cross them. And so I have seen some stuff, just given like the women felt they felt crossed, and they are capable. Like imagine, I'll give you another example so you understand. I'll try to drive this point home. Imagine offending Alina Habba. What would happen to you?
Seriously. You know what's amazing?
Seriously.
There's a funny thing about this. Like, if you go look at all the women that work for Trump or work in the Trump administration, you notice something. They're all like beautiful. Every single one of them happens to be like gorgeous and, actually attractive
Absolutely.
and smart and like actually able to talk about it. And then you go look at all the people all the women that work for like the Biden administration. They all look like Katie Porker. Every single one of them does. So they all look identical to that. Like it's very funny to me that's like it's just something unique that is to the Democrat Party that they have to have that kind of attitude and that kind of physique to them every single time. It's very funny to me.
Well, I mean, the Democrats want an androgynous population. This is why they pushed the trans issue so far. This is why they pushed all the trans stuff on the kids. This is why they put gender transitioning stuff on all the kids and all the adults. This is the androgynous worker bee taxpayer that just marches in lockstep. Whatever daddy says, we go with, versus women of merit and talent and the ability to keep themselves in shape and good looking and all the effort that requires there. There is a work ethic and there is a ethic tied to and associated with. Now, am I saying that everyone who is very, very talented, smart, and amazing and political? No, but listen, some of the best women I know in politics and things like that aren't necessarily like the dime pieces that get shredded out in the administration, whatever it may be. But generally speaking, there's an ethic, and like even like women that take care of themselves, regardless of their looks or whatever, there is an ethic that goes along with that and an effort that goes along with that. And the thing is that it's become so easy to not only fundraise, you don't really have to fundraise, the money's just given to you. And it's funneled from like foreign and domestic donations through Act Blue. And we all know how that works, and USAID and everything else. So you really didn't have to have any merit. You didn't have to really care what you looked like. You just had to be willing to go along with the lie. And so that's kind of what happens here. Because there's a lot of women out there that are intelligent. They take care of themselves regardless of how they look or whatever. They take care of themselves, take care of their home and everything else. Would never compromise for an extra few dollars. That's just not part of their ethic, right? I hope I'm not stepping on too many landmines here, but I think there is something to it, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think that's absolutely true. You know, there is definitely something to just generally taking care of yourself, making sure you're presentable on a regular basis. There is ethic that goes behind that, obviously. I mean, that I don't think anybody can really question that. I mean, that's just making sure that you try to take care of yourself in general principle is obviously a thing of moral character to do that. I don't think anybody would disagree with that. Well, I mean, of course the left would, because you know, you're allowed to live your truth, even if your truth is hideous and has nose rings and you know whatever the hell those things are called that they put in their faces.
Math and 2 + 2 = 5. Yeah.
Fish. It equals
that.
fish.
Yeah, 2 + 2 = bagel.
That's right.
I think everything.
You know,
Walker?
I think that that's certainly the case in terms of elected officials. It's becoming more of a case in these little activists and stuff like that we're seeing because of social media and all those things. Back in the day, I mean, you know, staffers were on the right and the left, obviously, took care of themselves. But it's just like something over the course of the last decade that's been thrown out the window, right?
Well, and I would agree with that, Chris. Actually, let me banter with you on this for a minute, because I agree with you. I knew people in politics back then, both on the Democrat and the Republican side, and it was just a common understanding that you didn't Fetterman hoodie into the Senate chamber. Like, well, you wore a suit. If you were a staffer, your hair was done, your nails were done. As a woman, as a man, you wore a suit or at least a jacket. You were always presentable. You could be in front. There was a merit to how you presented yourself, whether or not you were going to be taken seriously or not. And it was on both sides, to be clear. But you're right. Anyway, go ahead, Chris. I just wanted to add there.
I mean, a lot's changed on the left. The more the left has moved to the left, like become literally what they would call Democrat socialists, what normal people would call communist Marxists, the less that has they take care of themselves. So like tattoos, I don't know, whatever, the piercings and all this different stuff. You see elected officials in hoodies or shorts showing up with fake ties on in the Senate floor. Like, obviously, what we're seeing the most of is elected officials, throwing out expletives all the freaking time, even in the chamber, even in hearings. This is just stuff that wasn't tolerated. It just wasn't tolerated at the state level. It wasn't tolerated at the federal level for sure. And that decorum has been thrown out the window as the Democratic Party's base has shrunken down to the urban areas, because that's literally what it is. And so it's they have to pander to get clicks, and obviously the clearest example I think we've highlighted is Jasmine Crockett. Like, this is a gal, but AOC is the same, right? These are gals that went to very prestigious schools, very prestigious neighborhoods, or at least, well, certainly Jasmine Crockett was literally at one of the most prestigious schools where the Bush heiresses for Budweiser went to, right? Like,
Yeah,
this is the most prestigious of St. Louis's royal, like essentially royal families, right? The big corporate head honchos there. And then she comes into Congress and acts like she went to public school in Dallas.
Yeah, well, I mean, just to hammer that point home here, I actually have the recruitment video of Crockett's school that I can play here for everybody.
Good.
It's so funny. I mean, like this is the school that the ghetto stiletto is we like to call her. This is the ghetto stiletto school. So just check it out. I mean, what do you think, guys?
So I shadowed and I liked it a lot.
I looked at other schools and I just didn't like them as much. The people weren't as nice.
But at Rosati, I kind of got to know all the classes, all the teachers, all the activities in the clubs. And I kind of got to participate in them.
It was like walking into a purple and gold wonderland. I felt so welcomed, and I knew that this was going to be my home for the next 4 years.
A purple and gold wonderland.
I'm so glad I
Rosati.
chose
It's
an
just
all-girls
like,
school.
for those who just listening, like the images from this school are hysterical. There's like people playing tennis. Like there's like, they talk about all the different classes and how they're so welcome and happy there. And I felt so welcome. It was the purple and gold wonderland. Like, this is the school that Jasmine Crockett, the woman that goes out there and like, y'all don't understand how I'm going to do this thing today. And I'm going to be all mad up in your face and stuff. Like, what woman? This is the school you went to. This is nicer than most people. Like, this is more than most people afford in their, like, make an entire year. You spent going to school at this school, like, every semester. So I always found this amazing to me.
It was more, her K through 12 education was something like, I think it was like $60,000 or something a year.
Well,
Maybe
this
more than
school,
that.
so this school specifically, I looked into it at some point, and it was, I think it was $15,000 per semester, if I'm not mistaken. So it was $30,000 a year to attend this school, which is, that's high end private education. I mean, that's expensive, but just you don't act like this. Like, you don't act the way that she does and attend schools like this, is what my point is. Like, it's very obvious to anybody who pays any attention that, it's all fake. It's all fake. And, I love that when we heard that story that came out about Crockett, that it was like her staffers are like, she's more interested in becoming a social media influencer than she is actually being in Congress. Like, she sleeps in, she has to have an Escalade come pick her up from her apartment instead of walking to the Capitol every day. Like, you're just in it for the fun. Like, you're just in it for the clout behind it, which is ridiculous to me.
I mean, to be fair, if I could have a black car service every day, I kind of would take it. I'm not going to lie. Well, I like driving, but like probably on the weekends. But like, if I could have a black car, but again, you can't act as if you're a person of the people and be like, by the way, get away, peasant. I need to get in my Escalade. Like, those two things are not comparable. Where I would say, yeah, I can afford it. I'm doing it. I enjoy it. I also am concerned. You know what I mean? Like, it's okay to be honest about things, and this is why I think people loathe politicians, but specifically Jasmine Crockett. And by the way, the memes that have been flying out on Crockett today, for some reason today they picked today, it has been hilarious, and she's now called the cockroach, I believe. That's wild. Have you seen this?
What? No.
Yeah. So apparently it's morphed into a cockroach. She is now a cockroach. The internet is a weird place, my friend.
Oh my God. No, I have not seen that stuff yet.
Yeah, it's not good.
Not good at all. Not good at all. Crockett the cockroach. I mean, I don't know.
Well, no, but there was something. Stephen A. Smith, actually, matter of fact, Stephen A. Smith actually had some words for Jasmine Crockett, and I think that I'll find the clips. We should play it for people because he was right again, and I think he's doing a better job of towing the line that Chris Cuomo is trying to do. Jesse Waters is also. Jesse Waters is playing the Stephen A. Smith clip. Let me just send this to you, Walt, so you can share this with the viewing audience. I also sent you a clip that we're going to use during the Virginia segment because I want to get to Virginia a little bit. Spamberger is not having a good day right now.
No, she is not. Spamberger is not having a good time. There was one, someone sent me the clip of Crockett, by the way, that shows the two different versions of her voice, which is pretty interesting. So let me play that real quick before we move to another
great.
segment. So this is worth playing because this just gives you the representation of this, which is just great.
And
my mind,
Go ahead.
I was going to say, before you play, I have a lot of requests. You can't see them because I'm hosting. Guys, we will be bringing up people here very shortly. We're just trying to get through the first portion of the show. We've had technical difficulties all night. Please hang in there. We will bring people up for, open mic session, essentially. But let's get through the content here a little bit. And then I promise I'll bring you up.
Yep, absolutely. So this is Crockett, and this is the two versions of her that we get to see on a regular basis here.
And I just got to Austin, and I had to meet 5 people to get here. I don't know about this. So
y'all don't know what white privilege looks like, but I'm gonna show you a little bit of something.
It's a huge responsibility. The congressional seat is over 4 times as large as my House seat.
I'm trying to get clarification.
Look at, calm down.
calm
No,
down.
no, because this
I
is
would
what
like
y'all
to get
do.
through
And I was just starting to get into the rhythm of doing constituent services.
They send them to Texas, they send them to Florida. Every deplorable state that we can think about, they usually coming out of y'all's think tank.
There was someone that talked to me and said, in fact, a former ambassador.
So you get the point. I mean, it's completely fake. It's completely fake, and everybody can see it. I mean, it's so obvious that it's fake. But, of course, we like to pretend that this isn't happening. I do love this, though. But I just wanted to play that there just to end the segment on Crockett there, because it is just hysterical to watch her flail about and obviously be fake to everybody.
And just a quick reminder for everybody, she's out of a job, right? So now she's auditioning for a new job because she's out of a job with the new districting efforts in Texas. She's out of a job. So I don't know what job she's applying for. Maybe she's trying to get on MSNBC. Maybe she's trying to be the next Joy Reid, and what a joy that would be. That would be endless content. Because people like, even like Abby Phillip, by the way, broke from the Democrat mold the other night. I don't know if you saw that, Walt, but Abby Phillip's starting to come around a little bit. I think Scott Jennings is rubbing off on her a little bit there. But like, I don't know what Jasmine Crockett envisions her future as being, but she's no longer a congresswoman from her district. She no longer has it. She will be gone soon.
Yeah, well,
I think they're going to Marjorie Taylor Greene. I think they're going to move her to a different district.
Probably. I wouldn't be surprised by that at all, actually. That's exactly what the move that I think they'll do with her. They'll probably keep her in there. I mean, you can already see.
Just carpetbag her is what you think? They'll carpetbag her this soon?
Yeah, they will. I think they're going to bring her over to a different district. If not for midterm, if not for midterms, they would certainly do it probably for 2028. I don't think that's a bad thing for the Republicans too, by the way. I mean, I think it's one of those situations. This is like why in redistricting, the Republican Party in the past, in a lot of these states will try to draw out, let's just say, a Democrat district, but try to leave the craziest of those in the state in their urban seat, right? Cori Bush is a prime example in the state of Missouri, where it took a Democrat primary to take her out, but they didn't want to draw her out because she was like God's gift to Republicans nationwide with her crazy quotes, you know what I mean, and her scandals. I think they'll do the same thing with Crockett. I think Crockett is great for their urban base that they're trying to get clips to send out, and it's also great for the Republican Party to show how insane the Democratic Party has become.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, Crockett is one of those people that my guess is that her fundraising numbers are probably pretty decent too. I've never actually looked in directly to see what her fundraising numbers really are, but I wouldn't be surprised if that was actually accurate as well. I would not be shocked by that at all. But in the same time, so the same point here, we've got looks like Jesse Waters is actually talking about Crockett. So I'd like to play this here and see what he has to say, because I haven't seen this yet.
War's over, Jazzy. You lost. Stephen A. gets it.
You literally have senators and congressional figures on Capitol Hill on the side of the Republicans telling the networks, whether it's Fox News, News Nation, or anybody else, please, please, please put her front and center on camera. Why would they do that? Because they know it wins for them.
But the clingers cling hard. They don't want the truth. They want the drama. So they attack anybody with an ounce of common sense.
If you listen to Stephen A. Smith and you find anything other than some absolute, pure, self-hating, little energy nonsense from that half-witted idiot basking in the non-existent rays of his own ignorance, it is sad to me that he even gets an audience of black men. Why aren't black men right now saying, "F Stephen A. Smith"?
Wow. Men like Stephen A. can sniff out phonies. He tells it like it is. He doesn't agree with Trump on everything, but he's not afraid to admit when Trump's right. It's called honesty. They should try it sometime.
Oh, I love it. Waters has had some great stuff here recently, but I'll tell you one thing. Stephen A. Smith, and I called this actually. I said, he's got his own talk show now. You watch. He's going to come out and he's going to start really like hitting off really hard once he actually has his own talk show. And he is. Like, you can already see it. How long do you think it'll be before Stephen A. Smith is like almost a hardcore Republican? Like, do you give it a year? or is it like 6 months? Like, I mean, because you know what they're going to do. And you just saw it. That was the beginning of it right there. They're attacking him already. They're already attacking him. And what they're going to do is they're going to radicalize him. And then he'll immediately start moving more and more right. Because that's what happens to a lot of these people. These people that are moderates, they're somewhat, they're not the crazy, gay communists that are the left currently, right? So they're not the insane gay communists, and they won't go along with the insanity of the Democrat Party. So what does the Democrat Party do? They start attacking them relentlessly, going after them on every single possible issue that they can. Oh, this guy's an idiot. Look how stupid he is. How does he have an audience at all? Like, this guy's just a moron. And what it's going to do is it's going to piss him off because he's actually a masculine figure that actually has, backbone and actually is willing to say something. So he's going to get pissed. They're going to radicalize him, and he's going to end up being an even further right figure. Like, it's just, I can see it happening from a mile away. I don't know how else to read that. I guarantee. What do you think? 6 months, a year, or how long? How long do you think it takes?
Probably not even that long. I got to be honest with you. Like, I've been paying attention to him out of the corner of my eye. I've been watching some of his stuff. I don't always bring it to our show because I think that sometimes I think he's doing it. Let me rephrase this. I thought he was doing it just for clicks, but it seems to be a metamorphosis. If you guys go back, there was an interview, well, not an interview, but he was on Patrick Bet-David's podcast with Vincent O'Shaughnessy, which is hilarious, by the way. His Gavin Newsom is the best. And that other guy who I can't stand. I don't know, former Democrat. I don't know. I can't stand that guy. But Stephen A. was on with Patrick Bet-David. I want to say it was over a year ago, and he was talking about it. He's like, "Look, I was raised kind of with conservative values, but I'm a socially liberal guy." And I thought that was honest. Like, I understand that. I think that's a modern classical liberal to an extent. So it's all jived, and it's been consistent now for a couple of years. I don't really understand the sports ball guys. I say sports ball because I am a sports fan, but like, I don't understand like the sports analysts getting into politics. It's never really been my bag. But Stephen A. was one of the guys who was consistent. He was consistent when he was on with either Charlemagne or he was on with Patrick Bet-David, or now with his own individual channel. He's been pretty consistent on things. Bill Maher has somewhat been consistent the last few years as well. When he started going after the woke a few years ago, he's been fairly consistent. I understand who Bill Maher is. I also like his religionist documentary. I think it was hilarious. Whether he's mocking religion or not, it was still funny. And Stephen A.'s been pretty consistent. He's not a Chris Cuomo. Chris Cuomo is a liar. I will never let him into the den. Stephen A. can get a pass, but because he's been consistent on his views. And I think that he's just going to end up kind of as he goes and they attack him, he's going to end up embracing more of his conservative roots that he was raised with his parents that he admitted to. And so I have no problem with it. I think that there is a path to redemption for some people. And I also think and know a lot of these people just simply say what they have to say to make money. I get it. I understand it.
Oh, sorry there. Stupid X just started playing.
Yeah, because it's hilarious.
I think so here's what I think about Stephen A. Smith. Stephen A. Smith is always going to do what it takes for views and clicks and ratings.
Sure.
That's how his mind works. He sees a very clear path that is lacking on the Democratic side of the aisle, which is, by the way, the same path that Bill Maher's been on for quite a long time, almost since the inception of his show.
Yeah.
Which is
since he got canceled from Politically Incorrect, really. I mean, really.
Right.
You weren't,
yeah, that's right. And it's that the woke, and they don't like the far right, and they don't like the woke. And Stephen A. Smith openly said what is the truth and what the Democratic Party knows is the truth, which is that almost every black man in this country, and I would even argue most black females in this country, were raised in a conservative Christian household in terms of values, right? Over time, the black men have not. That's not really changed consistently. Like they've, I guess, more embraced it again. But the black female has always been the consistent vote for the Democratic primary base, and now that's waning, and the black male vote is leaning hard into President Trump, more so than ever before, right? So what does that mean? That means that there is an opportunity for someone like Stephen A. Smith to come into the Democratic Party and have a massive impact on the electoral process, which he would love nothing more than to have. And I think it's a great thing for the party to have that. I think we're going to see that. To answer your question, Walt, I think he's going to. He's already has a show. His show online and his sports show he already has. He's now leaning very hard into some of the political stuff, as well as talking about sports stuff, getting people ask a question and he addresses it on his show. So he is going to, and I predict at some point in the future, he's going to be one of the moderators of a Democratic primary debate. I think the Democrat Party is going to fight this, by the way, but I think he's going to completely bounce out Charlemagne the God. I think that the really woke Democrats are going to lean towards Charlemagne because he will carry their water no matter what. And I think Stephen A. Smith showed, had not only with Charlemagne, but he's shown it with other people that when he steps in the room in that conversation, he's going to alpha check Charlemagne and these other folks because he knows they're frauds, they're phonies, right? And so I think that's where he's going. Will he eventually run? That's an interesting question, but I don't think he would ever run for something like a local type of thing. I think he would go big or go home.
Yeah, I think he would definitely go big or go home. If he's going to run for something, he's going to run for something serious. But my point is, it's more about the way that you can see it happening. Like you can see in his talk show, like I never watched any of his sports stuff, and okay, sports ball is not my thing. Sorry guys, I mean I just don't care. The most exciting sports that I watch is chess. Oh yes, that's me. Sorry. So yeah, that's the most exciting sports that I watch actually. So, I used to watch football, and then they took my team from me. They literally removed it. They just said it was now the Washington football team, and then I was like, okay, well this is just dead to me now. Like I'm never going to watch this ever again. So if they bring that back, maybe I'll start watching football again. But no, I don't really watch sports ball very much at all anymore. But Stephen Smith, I'm telling you, just by watching him start to move into this talk radio stuff. And I'm telling you, if he starts doing this talk radio on a regular basis and he's actually successful at it, which I think he will be successful at it because he's got the attitude, he's got the fire behind him. He can definitely bring that energy that's necessary for a talk show, which if you actually manage to create a moderate talk show that actually can stand and actually work and be successful on its own, that will be very impressive. Okay. Because there has never been a left-wing talk show that was even remotely popular or successful. There's never been one. And which is what I'm telling you. I think that it's eventually he's just going to move further and further into the right because the people that listen to talk radio are not on the left-wing audience. They're just not. And here's the other thing. The most important aspect of this, I think, is that the radical left, socialist, Marxist, gay communists are not going to put up with this. Okay, they're not. They're going to fight it tooth and nail, like you just said a minute ago, Chris. They're going to fight it tooth and nail every single step of the way. And you can watch this happen. Okay, like there's a race going on up in Maine right now, right? So there's two different people that are running for the Senate, trying to go against Susan Collins. Okay, so the first guy that comes out is a guy named Graham Plattner, and I was looking at his content, looking at the guy, and he is he's a built, muscular, hyper masculine guy. Oyster farmer, looks like he's got an interesting platform. To me, I looked at it and I didn't like he's got stuff he's talks about how he wants free healthcare for everybody, whatever. Okay. But the big thing was it wasn't a gay communist. Okay. That's not what it was. And I was like, okay, I guarantee you what's going to happen is that someone else in the Democrat Party in the socialist wing is immediately going to stand up and say, nope, we don't want this guy. We're going to run somebody else. What happened today? The current Maine governor, the woman that Trump checked in the White House at one point, she announced her bid for the same seat. So who do you think is going to get the funding? I guarantee you she gets all the funding and they crush this guy. It's unfortunate because I would rather that side of the party, I would rather the somewhat sane Democrat group actually win out. I would prefer that. But I'm telling you right now, they're going to radicalize these people. Like, what do you think is going to happen to the groups of people that they're trying to moderate the Democrat Party? They want to so badly, but the Democrat leadership is controlled by these woke people, and they're not going to let it go. They're not going to let it go, and the only way that they'll let it go is they have to lose badly, which is what we've talked about on the shows many times. They must lose. It's the only way that they're going to lose. They're going to be able to take this power back from these people. Now, Stephen Smith and this centrist wing is what I'll call it. I guess it's more centrist. I'd still say they're still pretty far left, but at the same time, at least they're not nuts. Like, at least they're not insane to the point that they say, men and women's sports is a good thing. That you can change your gender at recess when you're in kindergarten. Like, maybe that, if you get away from that stuff. But the problem is that the radicals in the party, they're not going to let these people be able to move forward easily. They're going to fight them every single step of the way, which is what I'm telling you. I think this is a prediction we made a while ago, that the reality is that the Republican Party is going to absorb those people. And the Republican Party is going to become a much larger party and a more diverse party as a result of that. Eventually, what I think is going to happen, this is the long-term prediction, that the Democrats are going to lose again. They're going to lose more seats. They're going to lose more people. They're going to lose more stuff. It's going to move into the Republican Party. The old Democrat Party is going to get absorbed by somebody else. Somebody will actually show up and be able to take it over. I don't know who that is yet, by the way. I'm not sure. But until they manage to completely eject all of the insanity out of their party, they're going to push people like Stephen Smith further into the right-wing camp, even if it's not a lot. They're not going to become hard right, conservatives. Okay, I'm not expecting that. But what I wouldn't be surprised by is if they become moderate right wingers. Okay, like in the moderate right wing of the Republican Party, my guess is what'll happen is that group will eventually separate off and then retake over the Democrat Party. That's what I think would happen. And you could see that happening from somebody like Kennedy. Like Kennedy, if he comes out of this administration and he's done everything he said he was going to do, I guarantee you he might try and take over the Democrat Party. Like, I would not be shocked by that at all.
And I wouldn't be mad at it. This is what I've said. This is what we said numerous times on this show. We need a functioning Democrat Party because we don't have it. I don't mind challenges to ideas or platforms or bills if they're in good faith, or that there's reasons outside of the scope of what maybe more a conservative constitutional Republican might view it as. I think that balance is good. I mean, but I also think that the biggest tent inside MAGA and MAHA, whatever you want to say, is those people. There was no home. They were politically homeless. And we said, well, I mean, I don't mind your ideas. What do you want? What do you need? Will you come vote for us and we can give you those things? That's what we did. That's what we did in 2016. That's what we did in 2020, regardless of how we want to litigate what happened in 2020. And that's definitely what happened in 2024, right? Yeah. So, like, that's not like a protracted, like, completely obscure point of view. It actually seems to be the common point of view by most of us on this side of the aisle that have been here for the 10 years plus. We're like, look, dude, like, I don't agree with you politically on everything, but if you've got something to add to the conversation and you have something that you want, if you're gonna come over here and we're gonna try to make this thing work, then I want to hear what you have to say. It's the same reason that Kennedy and Shanahan came over. It wasn't because, look, I know people are gonna say, in my opinion, it's just my opinion, and I don't know Nicole Shanahan and Bobby Kennedy personally, but I pay attention to this. They were getting the same lawfare and the same attacks by being on the Democrat side, by bringing up these ideas that many of us were getting on this side of the aisle for years, going on a decade at this point. And so we said, yeah, come over here. I was there. I was in Glendale. I was here in Arizona. I was at Glendale when Bobby and Nicole came out. I was there for Tucker Carlson and Nicole Shanahan when she signed her mail-in ballot to send it back to California voting for Trump while she was on the ticket with Bobby Kennedy. I was there for that. And it was the conversation that was part of all of that was always the same thing. We got the same treatment on the Democrat side as you guys got on the Trump MAGA conservative side. So we want to come with you and we will fight the same battles. That's what I want to do. And we do need a healthy minimum two-party system. I don't want a parliamentary system, but I want a challenge of ideas. And if we don't have a challenge of ideas, if we have this androgynous, autonomous type, like progressive, disgusting, global technocracy type movement that's going on the left, that we will never be a free and fair nation ever again. So as much as I don't really like what the Democrats stand for, I would like some more reasonable heads to prevail. So,
yeah, and that's right. I mean, and that's what we've said. So the comment that I make to everybody, and that what I've made on this show before, but I'll make it again, is very simple. It's that, look, I want an opposition party. I do. They're very important. We need it. We need an opposition party. But I'm not going to argue whether or not Steve can go sit naked in the women's sauna. That's not happening. We're not doing that.
It's not on the table.
It's not on the table. It's gone. It's done. And Bill Maher, we should pull that Bill Maher clip and play that, because that was a perfect representation of exactly this point. That Bill Maher clip is great because he's like, that sounds insane to us, and we're not going to do it. Okay, like there was a bunch of Democrats earlier in the week that were screaming about the whole Spanberger things. And they're like, isn't it weird how the Republicans all talk about the 1% of the population thing? And they're talking about the trans issue. They're like, you know what? Isn't it weird how they talk about this 1% issue? It's like, because it's nuts. Like, are you insane? Like, I don't care if you think it's a problem that we talk about this. Okay, like, I'm sorry. You're trying to tell people that it's okay for men to say that they're women. Nope, not happening. Okay, like it's just it's not on the table. Until you give up that, nothing else matters to us. Okay, like you're not going to fundamentally change reality for your insane political ideas. It's not going to happen. But you keep pushing it. Like all you have to do is just walk away from it. That's what doesn't make any sense to me. Like all you would have to do is walk away from such a simple, like normal reality. All you'd have to do is accept that. And everyone would be like, okay, at least you're not nuts. But instead, what do? You pass laws for it. Like your congressmen and your senators and your governors sit out there and they defend it in court. They go to court for this stuff. Like you guys are nuts, and we're not doing that. Okay, like if you want to have a normal party, if you want to argue with us about how healthcare operates, great. You want to argue with us about how taxes operate in this country, okay, that's fine. But if you try and convince me that I have to affirm the delusions of very, very confused men, the majority of them that have sexual fetishes, that I'm supposed to somehow play into that, and then you tell me, not only are we going to do that, we're going to force that upon your children, and your children are going to have to, and if you don't, we're going to take your children from you. Did you guys see the story that happened? Where was that? I think that was out in Montana. No, it wasn't Montana. I can't remember what state it was. But there was a state this week that they took the kids from a foster family. Okay, they took the kids from the foster family because they refused to affirm some LGBTQ, avowment statement. Okay, and it's a Christian foster family, and they said, well, but we're Christian, we're not going to do that. And they're like, well, then you can't have kids. You're not allowed to have them. Like, what the hell is the matter with you? Like, I mean, that's the kind of stuff that we're just not going to argue about it. Okay, there isn't an argument to be had. Okay, there is no way you're going to convince people of that. And whatever, if it took conservatives this long to finally draw some sort of line in the sand, fine. Okay, whatever that reason is, we finally got there. But the reality is, that is it. Okay, you're not going to get us to budge on the issue. And you can say, well, it's only 1% of the population, but whatever your stupid reasoning is, it's not an argument. Okay, and if you give that nonsense up, maybe you can have an argument. But until then, you're never going to convince people. And this is what the point with Stephen Smith. There's someone here that said, we're getting this wrong, that he's an intentional fraud. He's talking about his conservative parents. He's famously, hated his dad for abandoning his family, blah, 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 blah. Conservatives are falling for his appeasement. That's not what's happening here, okay? One, I don't really listen to Stephen Smith on a regular basis. I don't, my point specifically is that just by him doing a talk show and having this, I think, when he's going to start in here and start talking on a regular basis, he's going to get radicalized because of these people that refuse to drop the lunacy. That's what I'm saying is probably going to happen. The people that refuse to drop the lunacy, that's what's going to cause him to move further into the right, because they're going to attack him for it. You watch. They will. They will absolutely attack him for it.
Well, that's why they're already attacking him, because he already has a show that he does every single day. He fields questions. He has millions of followers that follow his show. He is more effective than any show on the Democratic side of the aisle. Okay? That's how big his base is. Why? Because he talks sports, and because he also he's getting into the political stuff, and people are leaning into him because they don't see anybody else like that. Like, black dudes are not watching Bill Maher. Let's just be real here, right? They are listening to Stephen A. Smith. He has millions of followers. But this is why they're attacking him, because he's becoming effective. No one's falling for the gimmick here. Stephen A. Smith is not going to become a Republican. If he became a Republican, I'd be like, okay. But that's not going to happen. What he is doing, though, is paving his way to be a kingmaker on the Democratic side of the aisle. to force the party to address whatever it is he wants to address. And if they don't, which they won't, then he continues to get clicks because he makes fun of them and mocks them. And if they do, he claims that he helped drive the narrative, and he wins either way. That's what he's going to do. But I sent Walter Trash. I sent you guys a clip, and this goes to the point that you're making, Walter. That even if they backed away from this narrative, which they will not, and they will not because they cannot, because they had a period. The Democratic Party had a period that went so hyper woke before 2024 that they ingrained into laws these ideologies, and if you break from those ideologies, your business can be closed down. You can be fined. You can be arrested in some of these scenarios, like in California, that the law that's on the books now, kind of mocked off of the EU, that's being challenged in court. But I sent you guys a clip from Minnesota. They had a bill that is passed into law, or is getting passed into law. The governor, I think, maybe is getting ready to sign, that gave driver's licenses to every Minnesotan, including illegal immigrants. And the clip is classic because this is something that I've talked about since I think anybody ever heard my voice on Spaces. And just so we're all clear, this is something I've talked about since 2010, when I was a Democrat operative.
Yeah, I saw this clip earlier, Chris. I saw this clip earlier, Chris, and my comment on this, I actually did comment on that same post. My point is that the thing that they told us isn't happening. This never happens. Doesn't happen. No. What do you mean? That doesn't happen. There seems to be a whole lot of those things they swear aren't happening a lot. Anyone else notice that? I mean, I just seems to me like that seems to keep happening all the time now, and we see it everywhere. Illegals aren't getting health care. Well, except in all these places that they are, and we have it on the books in the state laws that they do get access to Medicaid. Well, that's not happening though. But I mean, just a little bit. It's only 10% of the $1.5 trillion. It's just a few $100 billion. I mean, shh, stop talking. Okay, like it's happening all over the place. So this is Tim Walz though. So this is worth playing here. So I'll go ahead and play this real quick.
It's done.
A packed room at the St. Paul Armory erupted after the governor's signature made driver's license for all the law of the land.
So we give driver's licenses to anyone here. You don't have to be a citizen. You don't have to, which is a photo ID. So if someone comes in, they register, they have the driver's license, but they have an incorrect social or no social or whatever. So then they become incomplete. But if they walk in to vote with their driver's license, does that make them all of a sudden now okay?
Mr. Linnell.
Madam Chair, so the designation on the roster for someone whose registration had been incomplete, if they present the election judge with that acceptable identification document, that would clear the challenge from the roster and they would be permitted to cast a ballot.
I mean,
play the follow up.
We'll keep going here, but I just amazing.
Mr. Anderson.
Well, okay, there's your problem potentially. So thank you.
So just to clarify, someone who is not a citizen but presents a driver's license at that point in the process could be permitted to vote.
Madam Chair, at the time of registration, as well as at the time of submitting a ballot, every voter is signing the attestation affirming their eligibility to vote, including that they meet all eligibility requirements, that they are a U.S. citizen.
So yes,
So
what we have said is happening. Turns out, is absolutely happening. You got to love these people. Like you really do have to love the tenacity to stick to the line of this isn't happening. But here's the thing, Chris. Now that this has come out here and that we've got this directly on the record now, what the next stage of this is. The next stage of this is, well, it is happening. Okay, so the first stage is it's not happening. The next stage is, well, you shouldn't talk about it. It only happens a little bit. And then the final stage of this, which will be sometime, in a week or two, they'll say, well, yes, this is happening. It's a good thing. That's how the flow of logic works for the Democrats. So it'll be soon that they come out and say, well, of course it's happening. What the hell's the matter with you? Of course, illegals are allowed to vote. I mean, why would they not be able to? I mean, what's wrong with you? I mean,
yeah,
it's so predictable, dude. It's so predictable.
This has been going on since since people heard my voices on Spaces. I've talked about this since 2010. This is the way, outside of electronic voting machines, that Democrats are somehow in favor of currently. Algorithm changes. Outside of that, let's just put that to the side. This is the way that Democrats steal elections. There is very few states in this country up until the last 2 years that ran backgrounds to verify citizenship on people who were put on the rolls in the motor voter program. That's what he was discussing, just so you guys heard. That was the motor voter program. What does that mean? They go to the DMV. They get themselves an ID. When they fill that out with their translator, they are attesting that they are a United States citizen. The translator from an organization that's funded with our tax dollars and billionaire donors on the Democrat side of the aisle helps sign that document, meaning they're lying. They get them an identification, and that ID is automatically put on the voting rolls, and there's no verification for it. And they get to cast their vote. And
well,
if there is a challenge,
and then the other side of this is, which is important to note here, is that then they, of course, can get a mail-in ballot sent to them without even requesting it. So the Democrats in their states do that. So they'll send the mail-in ballots out to them.
Yeah, and let's go one step further now, because now we have identifications in these states where drivers get driver's licenses with no name, no identification. Like literally, that's the name, no name, no address. You're seeing this in New York, California, Minnesota, blue states, hardcore blue states. You're seeing this. And in the Somali community, this is also something, by the way, that was very common when they first came across. Hence why Ilhan Omar was able to use another last name that wasn't really her last name. And so they will put on a name, and they all either have January the 1st or June the 1st as their date of birth, because in Somalia, they didn't track birth dates. So people have the same names, the same date of birth. And so the bottom line is, this is how Minnesota went from a purple swing state, back in the early 2000s, if you guys remember. Minnesota was a purple swing state and is now a hardcore Democrat state. And it's because of this type of shenanigans. But I'm so glad that they finally have come out and said, yeah, this is it, in a hearing. This is definitely it. So this is the guy who was running for vice president of the United States in this country, who's just signed a bill that is going to give illegal immigrants the right to vote, the ability to vote, not the right. This will be challenged in court, by the way, but the ability to vote in our elections. And this is what this is all about. He's proving the exact point here that the entire administration has been making, that they ushered in tens of millions of illegal immigrants in over the last 4 years into swing states and to throw the vote. And that's exactly what's happening.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is the point, right? I mean, this is why they started moving so many of the asylum seekers into red states. That's the reason they did it, so that they could start to shift areas. That's the purpose of it. They also had the added benefit of taking all the jobs from the manufacturing that Trump brought back in his first term from all of the people that voted for Trump. They wanted to make sure they really stuck the knife in for all of those people as well. Guys, we're going to move into another segment here, and since we have people on stage, we're definitely going to get to everybody that's up here and joining us, but I want to make sure everyone shares this space out. This is the Political Theater, weeknights at 9. Thank you guys for joining us this evening. This is host Walter Curt and Trash Discourse. Make sure you guys follow us on X. Make sure you guys follow us on Substack. Those are the best places you can support this show. Normally we have a link to somewhere where you can support us, but we're horrible about that. So make sure you guys follow us and actually support this show. The Political Theater account is in the X space where you can join and actually talk on the show. If you want to join the show, you can welcome to do so there. But make sure you follow that new account. Make sure you follow all the people on stage. Make sure you follow myself, Trash. And of course, if you're sharing this link out, make sure you guys send this link to as many people as you can. That's how you can help grow the show. Make sure you get more voices on it. And you can always share it off of Apple or Spotify. Spotify has the video version of this show that is released right after the show. It's usually up around midnight or so. And then the Apple version's usually up the next morning, because Apple takes I don't know, 7 years to be able to do anything that Spotify can do in literally 10 minutes, which is, I found that very funny since I've been doing this. But anyway, make sure you guys share this out. And this is the theater. So thank you guys for joining us this evening. We're going to move into a bit of Virginia segment. We've got two hands here on stage, though. We've got Thomas Specialis here on stage. This is Thomas Specialis, a veteran that's actually involved in a defamation lawsuit against the Democrat Party of Virginia. It's been very interesting in Virginia over the past week or so, especially since Winston came out there swinging at the debate. So, Thomas, how are you, man? I haven't talked to you since then.
Hey, I'm good, guys. Yeah, Virginia is always very interesting. I want to start off by saying, and please give me a couple minutes here because you guys have hit on so many things, but I think it can be summed up very simply. The first part is that there's Democrats, then there's the left, and then there's this woke agenda, right? And they are distinctly different, although and then there's the Islamofascist, right? They are distinctly different, but they're unified in a singular purpose to destroy American values. Those factions of people are all working together against the fundamental values that Americans hold dear: life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness, right? They are singularly unified and here's their methodology. And you guys have been all over it from the time I got into this space. They will lie, they will cheat, they will steal, and they will murder in order to stay in power. And it's across that whole spectrum. And Democrats that are not left, and when I say left, I'm talking about the communists, the hardcore socialists, that's the left. They literally, the Democrats, the people that you're referring to as is like sort of like the sane people, okay? Those are the Democrats that are coming over to the right, and that they're done with all the woke, evil stuff that the left is about. The communists, the socialists, the Islamofascists. That is, I think, the core of this problem, and that is why they are losing so many people. And Walt, you were hitting on it. I studied economics in school, in college, and the realization I had as somebody who studied economics is that there's sort of like an economic best interest. And what has happened is the left, the woke, and the Islamofascists, those are value statements, as opposed to I think universally everybody believes, and I'm not on the left side of this, but I think people believe that you should have health care. The difference has always been, and this came out of studying economics, how you get there, right? And that was an economic decision. And what happened with the left is that they basically made a value statement that no matter the cost, no matter how much it costs us, we should essentially compromise our national security, we should compromise liberty, we should compromise freedom, and we should compromise what's in the best interest of humanity in order to give everybody free health care, right? That's communism. And that's why I say there's Democrats that are actually the Democrats, I think, to a great extent, that have joined with Trump, the Kennedy, the Tulsi Gabbard. These people have realized how corrosive the communist agenda is that had wormed its way in, And the crazy part of this, guys, is if you read like even back to Hoover, he wrote a book on communism, and he talks about how the Democrats are going to become further and further aligned with communist ideology, and now it's coupled with the Islamofascists that are like running for office in in New York, or they are in office as Congress people in Michigan and Minnesota and Pennsylvania and all these places. So I I for me it's a very simple for me it's a very simple value statement. Whether or not you believe in life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness, whether or not you believe in the inalienable human rights of just human beings that we get from a creator as opposed to what's written in the Constitution, they don't believe that. They believe that that they should lie, cheat, and steal, and even commit murder. And I will say simply this: one of the things people don't talk about enough today, I think, is the attempted assassination of an entire group of Republicans on a baseball diamond in Virginia not that many years ago. That was an attempt at a mass assassination event. That wasn't just Steve Scalise. That guy was trying to kill people who believe in life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, in the pursuit of communism, socialism, etc. They are willing to lie, cheat, and steal. So and murder. All the things you guys are talking about can be summed up very simply. Virtually everything you guys are talking about, the lies these people tell, the way they cheat to get driver's licenses, to get on the voting rolls, they will literally do whatever it takes to get into power.
Thomas, let me help you here, because you're hitting on something that's very important. Okay, but the deal is you're trying to expand the point out further and further and further. And the point is, you already had the point at the beginning of this. The point at the beginning of this is that the structure that the left operates on is entirely based on one thing and one thing only, and that is power. It is the only thing they care about. It doesn't. There is no moral structure to it. They have no moral no moral aptitude whatsoever. It is all based on what power they can achieve, and that is actually a 100% Marxist idea. It is a Marxist ideology. Marxism has completely permeated, and this is something that there's an article I wrote a couple months ago that was titled. It was talking about the problem when you breed Marxism and Islamic ideas into one idea, and it becomes it's a hybrid ideology that's very dangerous, because it answers the problem of Marxism, the materialist problem of Marxism, with a 700-year-old jihadi narrative, which is a huge problem, because it solves a lot of those issues, the transcendental nature that doesn't exist within Marxism. But what you're talking about generally here is the issue is that the left has accepted Marxism totally. The left has. The left has fully bought into Marxism to the point that they are completely subsumed with it. It is the only thing they talk about, is the only thing they think about, is the way that they operate, the way that they think about their lives on a regular basis. And Marxism is not a moral structure. It is not a religious and moral structure that exists like it has in Western civilizations, because it's not a Western ideology. That's the reason it's like that. It is not a true Western ideology. It is the fundamental opposite of Western civilization. It is what we have stood against in this country when we fought against communists in the USSR, when we've fought against communism across the entire world, because Marxist ideology only sees power as the end goal. They don't care how they get there. That's why the revolutionaries that you see on these college campuses, they don't care what they represent. It doesn't matter what and this is James Lindsay, we have to quote him here because he's spot on about this, is that the issue is never the issue. The issue is revolution. And that is absolutely right. It doesn't matter to them what they have to do. It doesn't matter to them how far they have to go. The only thing that matters to them is that they manage to get the power that they seek. That is the only thing that matters to them. That is the only idea that they care about. It is the only thing that they worry about, the only thing they think about. And that's why you see so many of these Democrats that come out here and they're not condemning someone like Jay Jones. Like you would think, why would you not do that? It seems like such a simple idea. Like, get rid of this guy. He's said some very, very bad and horrible, morally terrible things. But to them, the idea that they would give up any form of power just because someone said something. Well, they don't care what they say. And this is a point that people don't understand about the left. And this is something that a lot of conservatives get really hung up on. They go, oh my God, don't you see how hypocritical they are? No, you're missing the point. Hypocrisy to the left is a feature of their ideology. It is not a bug. It doesn't matter to them if they're hypocrites. It doesn't matter to them if people understand that they flip-flop on issues all the time. The only thing that matters to them is that they manage to have some sort of political win. That's all they care about. As long as they get those points, somehow they manage to get their ideas across a little bit better to people. That's all that matters to them. That is the only thing that matters to them. It doesn't matter to them how they got there, what they had to do, how they managed to fool people, who they lied about, what they lied about. None of that matters to them. All that matters to them is staying in power, increasing their power, manage to convince more people that they should stay in power. That's all that matters to them. That's why you can see them come out when you talk about this new story that came out today. The only reason they care about that story is because they think they can use it politically. It's the only reason. It's not because they morally wrong. Like, they don't care about that stuff. They don't care about this stuff. You're talking about the same group of people that a couple weeks ago were celebrating in the streets because Charlie Kirk was assassinated in broad daylight. These are the same people. They don't care. It doesn't matter to them.
That is why Abigail Spanberger could not respond to Winsome Sears and say, not only do I condemn what he said, but I don't think anybody should vote for him. Like, that's
right.
why she can't say that. And that is also why the Free Palestine people have been so silent, because they cannot admit that a good thing happened, but somebody else did it, because that Trump was able to pull this off.
That's right.
That's
because
why
it's all
they can't do it.
That's right. I mean, it's the same thing. So for the Abigail Spanberger aspect of it, the reason that she hasn't said anything, and it's because the political calculation is all that they did. So they did the political calculation. They thought that if they came out and said Jay Jones needs to drop out of the race right away, that would create some massive national story and it'd be worse for them in a political calculation. So they're hoping they can just whistle past it, which I think that was a mistake on their part, obviously, because now everybody's talking about it, and I think it's going to take down their whole ticket. But to them, all they did is they said, well, he might lose and he might have lost anyway. So what we'll do is we'll just not say anything. And then we'll just, walk past this anyway, because if we say something, then everybody will start looking at Virginia. It was a political calculation. And it's the same problem. Okay, it's the same problem. They are still looking at this as a political calculation. The moral aspect of it doesn't even compute to them. They don't even pay attention to it. They're not paying attention to it. It is irrelevant to them. That doesn't matter to them. All they care about is, can they win the election? Okay, if we come out of here and we say Jay Jones has got to get out, well, then maybe we'll lose on that because a lot of people pay attention to Virginia. No, okay. So we're just not going to say anything and hope that we can get Abigail Spanberger in there because she was up in the polls. We're just going to do that anyway. And then she completely collapsed on the debate stage because she didn't have the ability, in any moral integrity, to be able to defend, to even say that this is wrong, to even respond to it. She looked terrible. She had no emotional response to it. And that's the problem. Hold on, Thomas. I got to go to another hand here because Keymaker's been waiting for a minute here. Guys, this is Political Theater. Thank you guys for joining us. It's weeknights at 9. Keymaker, you've been waiting for a minute. Go ahead, man.
Yeah, hey, Walt. Thanks for having me up. It's been a good show. I'm glad now that you got onto Spotify, because now I usually just catch the show the next day, because sometimes you guys are up a little bit late for me. So, but I wanted to touch on the election here in Virginia. So I've already voted, and I've been talking to a lot of my friends. The numbers for this early turnout that I'm hoping for aren't quite where I want them to be. So I hope everybody just, if you know somebody that hasn't voted yet, tell them to get out there, tell them to vote. The choices are obvious. It's very clear. We can't have Spanberger, right? So I posted in the purple, kind of my reasons for why I voted for Winsome. And, for me, it's always taxes, right? Like, that's the main driver to me. And she's going to axe that car tax. So that's the big one that I'm hoping for, because that's a ridiculous tax every year. But I did also have some bad news for you, Walter, and I know you're going to enjoy this. So the other day, I applied for subscriptions here on X, and within 48 hours, they approved it for me. So I know that, I know that you're going to be a little upset about that, but I was thinking of you when it happened. I was not expecting it, so I'm not even ready for subscriptions. I'm still trying to take this stuff serious and post better content, but
That's
just wanted to
hilarious.
throw that out there.
Just for a note on this, they actually my original pending application just disappeared randomly one day, and then and now I just had to reapply for subscription. So the woodland creature and the keymaker are allowed access to subscription model on X, but I'm not allowed any of that. So I do find it funny. But go to wcdispatch.com if you want to support me and my work in this show. But to your point about Spanberger, everything, all this stuff, the early voting numbers, I've actually seen good numbers from early voting numbers, by the way. If you go look at, there's an account, I forget the name of the account, I'll pull it up real quick. It's a really a good account that's probably the best account for numbers in Virginia, and it's Christian Hines is the name of the account. And they've got really good numbers for early voting, and they've got some model that they call the crystal ball model or something like that. But if you look at the actual turnout numbers, early voting turnout numbers on 1014 here, you actually see that the GOP, I'll put this up on the screen so people can see what I'm talking about here. This is actually very interesting numbers here. So if you look at the numbers here for early voting, you see that for early voting on 1014, so this is Dems 60%, GOP 39.66%. If you go to 2024, which is the presidential elections, you see Dems at 59.93 and then GOP at 40.07. So that seems to you like, oh, well, they're getting the same. The Democrats are getting roughly the same turnout that they got in 2024, but that's not the number really to pay attention to. You got to look back and look at 2021, okay? This is the last gubernatorial election, okay? So 2021 is the last gubernatorial election. If you look at those numbers, the Dems are off by 4%, and the GOP is up by 5%, nearly 5%. So that's almost a 10-point swing in early voting numbers, positive for the Republicans, a 10-point positive swing in the early voting numbers. So now I don't know. This guy's model was pretty good in 2024. I think he said it was off by 1% or so. So these are actually pretty solid numbers. To me, a 10-point swing in early voting numbers is a good thing. Now, there's a lot of people that don't like early voting, but guys, you can hate early voting all you want. Okay, you can hate it all you want, and you could say we should go back to paper ballots, and that's the only thing we should ever do, and everything needs to be counted on the same day. Sure, I agree with all of those points. That's not happening right now, so we need to win. Okay, so I don't care what we have to do. If we've got to play the game, then we got to play the game. Okay, so if we're playing, we must actually go out there and get early voting numbers done. So to me, it looks like our early voting numbers are better than they were in 2021, which means we are doing actually very well in this election. Now, I've also seen some competing data saying that, maybe the Northern Virginia is winning in the early vote turnout, but I've actually heard from a lot of very good sources that the early vote numbers in Northern Virginia are not as good. They're not as good, and they're not where the Democrats want them to be. So I'm not sure which numbers to really, to trust here. But as far as I can tell, and this guy's usually pretty good, his numbers are fantastic. I think we're actually doing very well. As far as I can tell, it looks to me like our early voting numbers are actually doing well. And there's another point to make on that, if you look at the Trafalgar poll that just came out, that showed that Winsome Sears was within a couple points, showed that John Reed is within 1 point. It showed that Mayoras is running away with it. I think that's great. And of course, the Democrats immediately released 2 suppression polls within 48 hours, which tells me, again, which is why the name of the show this evening was Democrats in Full Panic, because I really think they are panicking. And you can see it all over the timeline. They're everywhere talking about, oh my goodness, don't you see this? Don't you? I mean, but the great part about it is that their astroturf that they used to have is not nearly as effective as it used to be. It's just not. And you can see that on the timeline. You go look across the timeline, go look at the Democrats, because I know all of you have seen the same thing as me, okay? My feed is full of Democrat politicians for whatever reason, and it's very obnoxious because I don't follow any of them, and they're just all over my feed talking about how great the Democrats are and how Trump's evil and bad and orange and bad and mean and orange and bad. But no one cares, because if you go look at all those posts, almost every single one of them is just getting ratioed into oblivion. I mean, I think the Jay Jones one is probably the most egregious. There was a Jay Jones post earlier today. I think he had 5,800 comments or something and less than 100 likes. I mean, it was brutal. It was a brutal ratio. I mean, these you go look at some of these things. All of them are like that, though. It's not just like 1 or 2. It's every single time any Democrat posts anything, they're getting crushed. They're just getting destroyed online. Now, I know a lot of people like to say that X isn't real life. And, a few years ago, I used to say that. I used to agree with that concept that a few years ago, X isn't real life and you can't really make real change using stuff that you do on X. That is not the same anymore, okay? We can see real things happen from the things that we do on just in this show, okay? Just for an example here, just one example. The Fairfax abortion story that I broke, that big, massive story. Those don't know the Fairfax story. I'm actually working on another follow-up to that this weekend. I'm probably going to have to travel down to D.C. to do an interview for this. But listen to me. That story, initially, I put it on Substack and I put it on X, and within 2 weeks, a statewide investigation was opened. Within a month, a Senate investigation was open. Within a month and a half, there was a U.S. Department of Education investigation into this. So from one story posted on both X and Substack, it actually made real difference in the real world. Okay, so and there's lots of examples of this, not just me. I know Trash was talking about this the other day when Mike Davis had that one person that was, some I forget what that was, some general or somebody that was about to get an award, and they called them out and they got that canceled too. Look, it used to be that the things you said on X, maybe it didn't matter because no one saw them. Okay, and I don't think that's the case anymore, because I think that now that X has actually moved into, being, I would say, used by the entire administration, religiously, the entire administration's all over X. But more than that, real people that can actually make real differences use this platform. So if you say things, you can make a big difference. Yes.
Well, what are you seeing on the numbers regarding? Because I know you were the lead breaking the story with my defamation case. And, they've got this lawyer, Don Scott, that's the Speaker of the House. What are the numbers looking like on that at your end?
I'm sorry, say that again.
I think, what are the numbers looking like on the story that you broke regarding to my defamation case with the DPV?
I mean, that story got a lot of attention as well. But now I will say that the campaigns themselves, they didn't want to go after that. I'm not sure why. To me, there's one thing that I notice about political consultants is that if they're not sure that it's going to play well or something like that, they don't really touch it. But I mean, I still get a lot of people to talk about it. So, I think that they should have used that a lot heavier. But now that we're coming into the end of this race, the deal is that they've got enough content that they can use on all sorts of stuff. I still think that this is an important thing for people to know about, because it plays into the same problem for Abigail Spanberger, right? It's the character issue, okay? Her character. She is willing to lie and defame her own constituent for political gain. She is willing to sidestep Jay Jones for political gain. She is willing to not say anything about one of the major issues, the trans issue, for what? For political gain. It is a character issue. All of it is the same problem. These people have no moral character, and that's why you shouldn't vote for them. That's the reason that they should run with it. So I think it all plays into the same thing. The deal is that if you go and look across the spectrum in Virginia right now, if you go look and see what's happening online, if you go look and see what's happening, there is not positive messaging coming out from the Spanberger campaign. The only thing they're running on is we hate Trump. That's it. That's all they've got. That's all they're running on. They're hoping that, we hate Trump. Trump bad. Trump super, very, very orange. Very, very bad and orange. We don't like him because he's orange. But that's it. What else have they got? There is no messaging. What are they? They're claiming healthcare is being shut down. Oh my goodness, rural healthcare centers in Virginia are being shut down because of Trump. Like I'll tell you right now, guys, I have family all over Virginia. I've got friends all over Virginia. Not one person I've ever talked to has said that this is some major concern to them. Like it's not some major thing to them. This idea that that healthcare centers or rural healthcare clinics are being shut down. I don't think this is a major problem for people. The big deal is that, Trump is trying to get a hold of crime. He's trying to get rid of illegal immigration. And regardless of what the Democrats say, they can play 1,000 clips of ICE kicking down doors and think that this is like, oh, this is horrible. Don't you see the masked bandits are coming? Like, people love it. Okay. Like they don't see it. They still don't get it. Like, they have not figured this out yet, that every time you mention immigration, Trump wins. Like, it doesn't matter what scenario it is. Like, in Trash and I were talking about this before this election started. It's like, what do you think they're going to do? Do you think they're going to bring out the abuelas, the crying grandmothers? Like, is that what they're going to do? Is that how they're going to try and play it? And instead of even doing that, which I thought it might have been somewhat effective, if you get a bunch of like crying immigrant, like old grandmother women or something, like if you put those on videos, maybe those would be effective. But no, they didn't even do that. They went into Trump is an authoritarian dictator. He is the worst. He is worse than Hitler, which is stupid because they've been calling him Hitler for the entire time he's been in political in doing anything politically. So they decided that that's how they're going to run this. And again, I just don't think it plays. Okay, and the reason for that is because Joe Biden left the border open for 4 years, and there is so much illegal immigration problems. There are so many horrible instances of illegal immigrants doing things and having major problems that it ended up. I think the last numbers I looked at, by the way, on what people think about illegal immigration is it is a 70% issue that people do not like illegal immigration into the country. That's how bad it got. Now, I don't think that has shifted back in the opposite direction because Trump's doing exactly what he campaigned on. Okay. What did he say 1,000 times during the campaign? Mass deportations. Mass deportations. Now, I personally think that the deportations aren't high enough. I don't think they are. I think they need to be 10 times higher. But, you got to get what you can get. But the deal is that trying to tell people that Trump, because he's doing what he said he was going to do by going after the illegal immigrants in the country, trying to say that is evil and horrible and bad, you're still doing it. You're still talking about immigration, which is a net positive for Trump. Okay, so it doesn't work for them. They've got nothing to run on. And this is what I've tried to get to really understand. What exactly is Abigail Spanberger or any of the Democrats really in Virginia? What are they running on? Does anyone know? Does anyone have any idea?
Well, they're not. They're not. So they're not.
Go ahead,
They're
Trash.
not. Yeah. So I'm gonna go ahead and take control of space here. They're not, and there is no message, and this is what I've been talking about for some time. So, a lot of things that we're talking about here are wins in our cap, and we love it, and this is what we voted for, and all the pretty things. But at the end of the day, no one is holding any Democrat accountable to what they actually stand for. I mean, you got the Schumer siesta going on right now, and they're saying that Republicans are holding up. I don't know that any Republican voted against from shutting down the government. I don't see a track record of that. Matter of fact, I see Democrats, and I see them slowly but surely edging over to vote for it. The immigration and stopping crime is popular on both the right and the left by people that live in these communities, and so they don't care. So what exactly are they standing up for? This clip that I sent you, Walt, by the way, are we standing up for now? Democrats want medically assisted in dying. They want MAID to come down from Canada in here to the U.S. If we want to set up a single-payer healthcare system, that we are going to have a single-payer healthcare system, and then we're going to have to reduce the population because we can't afford a single-payer healthcare system, and so therefore we're going to attack the ACA, which we all didn't like to begin with, and you want to propose that we all support it now? That's ridiculous. That's nonsense. But none of that is part of the CR at all. So you want to introduce $1.5 trillion to pay for illegal immigrants' health care on top of a continuing resolution, which we already don't like, and you want us to go along with that? Well, the Republicans aren't coming to the table. We have nothing to talk about. We have a mandate. Trump has a mandate. House Republicans have a mandate that have not been holding up their end of the bargain, but Senate Republicans definitely have a mandate as well that they have not holding up their end of the bargain. So they're doing exactly what the American public, not just Republicans, but the American public voted for and what they wanted. It is, in fact, this retail politic bullshit that we got to go through, this political theater, which is why we call this space a political theater. We got to go through this just to say the point that these people stand for nothing, they argue for everything, and they deserve all the bad things that come to them, including holding up pre-printed signs and going after the Speaker Mike Johnson's office, who's not there because they're not in session, and doing some kind of theatrical parade that you're standing up for the American people. You may be standing up for the Karens of the HOA and the boomers who lay down on rainbow sidewalks so it doesn't get torn up, but you're not standing up for Americans. This is a small percentage of people who are just retarded and ridiculous and think that they run the world, and they are stupid, stupid, stupid people. And again, that doesn't represent America at all. So what do you represent? And that clip I sent you with Abigail Spanberger talking about bringing MAID down to Virginia, I think that's what they actually stand for. There is no truth but power with Marxists. We understand this. They don't operate in truth. They believe that they're going to be powerful. but they don't realize they'll be the first against the wall, whether it be metaphorically or actually. The revolutionaries will be the first against the wall. Most likely metaphorically, because we live in a sane society.
Hey,
Yeah, and let's play, guys. Guys, hold on a minute here. Guys, we cannot have overlapping audio. Please don't. And so hold on a minute here. I want to play this clip. Okay, go ahead, Chris.
Thing here, but I want to make sure this is my take. They are telling us what they stand for. The thing is, it's horrendous advice right now, and so I guess it's part of us is like, you can't be really standing for this right now, right? They're standing headstrong in allowing biological men in girls' bathrooms and saunas and high school locker rooms. They're standing headstrong on margaritas with MS-13 and Tren de Agua. They're standing headstrong on physical assaults on ICE agents, essentially doing the goon squad tactics for the cartels, because that's what it is. They're standing, they're ignoring or pretending they don't know about the realization of Antifa, because we already know there's financial ties to the Antifa that's going to be coming out in the near future, right? And so they're telling everyone what they stand for, and that's the problem. Is that everyone is like, you stand for this, and then they're saying, no, we don't. No, they're ignoring it. They're not answering the questions. They pretend like they aren't standing for it because they are so used to the media, the national media, doing their bidding. And that's going away because of the power of social media, because of the power of online accounts, and because the American people flat out do not trust the media anymore. There's no level of credibility with the media anymore. So now you're starting to see local folks, like the scenario we played in the clips with these two local reporters and Katie Porter or whatever, holding her accountable. And you're starting to see this slowly but surely starting to see this across the board, these questions being asked, because at some point real common sense comes into play. So I think they're showing what they stand for. I think Abigail Spanberger's trying to. This is why she's not responding in debates. This is why she's not responding to the biggest school district in her state, funneling teenagers to abortion clinics. This is why she didn't respond to a sexual predator being in a girls' gym in Virginia. This is why she's not responding to these things, is because the moment she opens her mouth, she's exposed for everything that this crazy wacko Communist Party has stand for. And I don't use communist loosely like, these people are literal communists. This is where progressivism came from. I tell people this. I will tell people this. I'll put my hand on the Bible to tell people this. They literally founded this in California, and there was fundraisers with actual Weather Underground communists. And 2005. And so this is why they had to have the linguist George Lakoff instead of Noam Chomsky. They had to bring in a more modernized language to the party to sell what we know as Democrat socialism or communism.
Yep.
So this is where they're at, and she's running from it, or being quiet at least, hoping to get through the election so she's not exposed for what she is.
Yeah, I mean, this is the kind of stuff that we're talking about. And this is why it's very important that people pay attention to stuff that people are putting out about this, because this is Spanberger where she actually stands, and this is the socialist nonsense that no one wants.
I support, and I would support legislation that legalizes the right to die with dignity of a person's choosing, and that would include allowing for medical providers to provide prescriptions for life-ending prescriptions in the cases of someone who's deemed medically competent to make that decision, mentally competent to make that decision. I oppose the ability of religious institutions to put their religious-based ideas on individuals and their healthcare choices and options. I believe that we should trust people to have relationships with their healthcare providers that lead them to make strong decisions based on their medical practices, and I do not believe that people should have the option to allow their own personal beliefs to dictate the type of medical care that they are providing their patients.
So there you go. I mean, that's it's as clear as it gets. So that is medically assisted suicide is what she's advocating for there. That's what she believes. I mean, this is the thing about Spanberger, which is, I find very funny, is that they tried to package her as like a moderate candidate, and she was never moderate. Like, she was never a moderate candidate ever. I mean, there was nothing about her moderate. There was not a single issue that she was a moderate Democrat on. And they still tried to run her as that. They tried to hope that no one was going to look, I guess. I think that's what their intention was. I do remember when I first started looking into Spanberger, trying to figure out what I was going to write or what I was going to do to try and, take a hit at her campaign. They did a pretty good job hiding stuff. Like, they did a pretty good job hiding her, like, most of her history, most of her stuff. I had to go, like, manually find a lot of stuff. Like, normally you can just do a couple easy searches and you can find stuff. But no, it was actually reasonably difficult because they intentionally hid a lot of her actual primary positions on key issues. So they were just hoping no one was going to find it. And, it just blew up in their face, really. You decided to choose these radical people, and then you're surprised when they hold radical positions. And that's what's amazing about it. It's like they're shocked. Like, oh my goodness, this person's that radical? Yes. You picked them. You knew who they were, and you're just mad we all figured it out. I mean, it is pretty funny to watch how they're flailing about. Oh my goodness. I love that they're trying to use anything they can to stick to the wall to get this to stop working for them. They're still trying to do Trump as an authoritarian, horrible dictator, and he's a fascist, evil person as he, solves the war in the Middle East, something that no one's ever been able to do. What are you doing? You're not going to be able to get away with this stuff. And, I think that, Trash, this goes to your point that you've made a number of times here. I think they really still live in that world where their astroturf and their censorship machine covers for them. And that they hope, and what they're doing now, instead of using that, even when they don't have that, what they're doing now is they're just avoiding all media. They don't talk to anybody. They hope that no one talks to them. No one asks questions. No one asks anything serious of them. And they hope by doing that they manage to get away with this stuff. And the deal is that eventually someone starts asking. Eventually someone that is actually a brave reporter that is willing to go out there and, hey, what's going on here? And then they completely freeze up. And they have no ability to answer the questions. So it's this whole strategy that they're running now is that, they hope that they can just get away with this. And this is the amazing thing here. The reason they did that early debate, such a late debate, is because they know that a bunch of their early voters were already have voted by that point. That's why they did the October 9th debate. That's why they did it so late instead of months ago. They intentionally did that so that they know that a bunch of their early votes would already be banked in. So it's intentionally deceptive, and they're hoping that people still aren't going to be able to figure it all out by the time it's election day. I don't think it's going to work for them. I don't. I mean, you can call me crazy, you can say I'm wrong, but I just don't see it. Okay, I just don't believe it. I don't think this is accurate. I think that there's no way that anybody that has any rational sense to them can see what's going on in this race and see, a moderate candidate that they're willing to go out and put their ballot down on, especially the independent voters. The independent voters aren't going to go for this stuff.
Well, and Walt, to your point, I have never met a more aggressive person who holds to their ideals and holds on to their vote like it's gold more than an undecided or an independent. They pride themselves on that. And so this is why I've always struggled to understand how we even got this far to begin with. Because, like, to me, it was like, okay, fine. You don't vote on partisan lines. Understand. And you value and you weight your vote more than gold. And you believe you have to make the argument to me that I need to vote for you. This is what they do. And I applaud them for it. But I've never understood the rationale or the logic where you could make that argument and then vote any other way than what we have been voting for the last 10 years when it comes to making America great again or America first. Like, that math doesn't add up to me. So you're either susceptible to the propaganda and the censorship and the astroturfing, or you actually are a genuine thinker who is an independent, who values their vote more weight than gold. How in the hell did you go any other way? And this is why I don't understand retail politics right now. This is why I try to highlight censorship. This is why I've investigated many of these and brought these things forward. Because I'm like, look, I'm making the argument that you cannot ignore. If you're going to make the argument to me that your vote needs to be swayed. It is more weight than gold, and that you are a principled person. How in the hell did you go any other way? And that's ultimately what led me down my exploration of a lot of these topics. Well, is because of
Well,
that very reason.
if you actually look at the elections that have mattered on a federal level, right? And you look at those, um, starting, the 2020 election, of course, right? But you look at the 2018 midterm election in Georgia. You look at, or I'm sorry, the special election. You look at what was it, the special election in Georgia and the midterm elections in 2022. When you actually look at those numbers, where do they come down to? They only come down to a few counties in these areas, right? In Georgia, Arizona specifically, and you look at the unexplained changes, and you look in the 2020 elections with the unsolicited mail-in votes that were dropped without any identification in the back in bins in front of shopping malls like Toys for Tots. I always say this, like, this is insane. Our State Department standard since forever has been that this would be a thrown election in any third world country, and yet they sold this in 2020 as if Autopin actually got 80 million votes. Okay, and that's what's happened is they've tried to frame this narrative like Lincoln Project folks, helped sway the moderates and independents to vote against. No, that's not even true. None of it was true. I actually damn the Republican Party in some respect for not being on the courthouse steps in
Oh, in a
Arizona.
lot of respects,
And
to be clear.
let's recall here that they even allowed in the state houses in these areas Republicans to be removed, which gave away the majority in the party. So what would lead to that? That would be so bad. So my simple point is, to what you're saying, Trash, is on one hand, it's crazy that our country has even got this far, but on the other hand, it's very explainable how it got this far because we had a compromised media and compromised elections, and the moment you have compromised elections, you don't have free and fair elections, which is the most important right that we have in this country, is a free and fair election. And the Democratic Party at this point in time stands fully opposed to that. And I just want to make one more comment on this. There is no moderate. I will challenge anybody to point to me a moderate Democrat elected official today. It just doesn't exist. They are not there. They are called MAGA. They are called retired, right? And they retired because they tried to move left under the new Barack Obama hyper left Democrat Party, and they just weren't comfortable with the things that we now see that are being put into place in Democrat counties, Democrat cities, and Democrat states, which is a full-on attack on parents, our schools, our kids, our doctors, and our communities in a host of ways that is honestly from the darkest of the souls when you really think about it. And that's why some of these moderate folks retired, and they would never be able to get a nomination in this party. I would argue Robert Kennedy Jr., John Kennedy, Bill Clinton in the 90s, Hillary Clinton in the early 2000s versus Hillary Clinton today. None of these people would have been elected in today's Democratic Party, right? We know the clips. Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, fill in the blank. Every Democrat that's been elected in D.C. Since however long, that's become multi-mega millionaires worth hundreds of millions of dollars or tens of millions of dollars because they switched their stances and on speech censorship, war, electronic voting machines. I mean, we can go down the list of everything that they've switched, which Bill Maher has done a wonderful job of exposing on, for whatever reasons. And the point is the Democrat Party today would not allow the Democratic Party of the Bush era into its own party. That's how far off they've went off the cliff.
No, I think that's right. Absolutely. Walt, you with me?
Yeah,
I
I'm
brought
here.
a few more. We got about 30 minutes, guys, before we wind this episode down. There were people in the speaker request. Let's hear from new people. Hill, good to see you. And then we'll go to Irish MAGA gal. I want to hear some new voices as well.
Absolutely.
Like,
What's up, Hill?
likewise. Thanks. Good to see you guys, Trash and Walter. Yeah, well, we've been talking about these incredible stances that um, these Democrats have been taking lately, and it reminded me to go back. And I think you know this already, but I went back to look at my copy of Rules for Radicals because I remember being a little shocked at the section that he calls of means and ends. And basically what he says is the very blunt that the ends justify the means, and that morality is not fixed. And that's the problem we have here. I mean, these people are following the rule book. They've now moved on to the point where they're going to dig into what we conceive as immoral positions, and they're not going to let go. In a way, it reminds me a little bit of Hamas, because I've known since I was 11 years old that the conflict in the Middle East between Israel and the Arabs was a zero-sum game. It's going to be at the end of the day, at the end of time. I don't know when it happens, but it's going to be one or the other. Hamas is never going to give up, and Israel is never going to give up. And I think that this is the same set of rules that are applying now to the Democrats. I think they've dug in. And I guess to me, the part that's terrifying is that we have a whole cohort of young people who the divide seems to be between the older and the younger in many respects. And because when I look at some of these people on the left who are protesting and so on, they seem to be completely, I don't even know what the word is, shut off, shut down, that like they don't even have any morality. And these are the kinds of people that say that they're happy that Charlie Kirk was murdered. Anyway, so as I'm searching for an answer to how these people take these ridiculous positions, and that's the only answer I can come up with, that they've decided they're at this phase of the Alinsky playbook, and that's where they're going to stay until they get what they want, or they're, I don't know, forcibly removed. One last comment I wanted to make, which is something that I heard in the documentary, Errol Morris documentary, that Errol Morris did with Steve Bannon, where Steve Bannon repeated several times, as night follows day, there's going to be a civil war in the United States. Now, I don't know. People say he's brilliant. I don't know if that's true or not, but it sticks with me. Anyway, thanks for letting me speak.
Yeah, thanks for joining, Hill. And I think the biggest part about it is like your question was like, are they just in this final stage of moral relativism, or are they in this final stage of the Alinsky playbook? Maybe, but the reality is that I don't even think that they care about a playbook anymore. To them, they think that they've won already. That's their biggest problem. They think they've already done it. They think that they've already had the victory, and the deal is that they're very surprised that they're losing now, and I think that's why they've turned so violent as a result of this. The deal is that their ideas were so dominant for so long that they never thought that something would change. They didn't think that they would be able to lose in this scenario that they're losing now. They never. Goes back to the thing with Trump. They never thought Trump would get back into power. They never thought that would happen. They never thought in a million years that would happen. And the reality is that he did. Trump is back in power. So, there's nothing they can do to stop it now. And the deal is that this is why you're seeing so much violence and so much unhinged behavior by them, because they are shocked that not only is Trump back in power, but he is back in power and actually moving forward with his agenda. And that to them is unacceptable. They can't understand that, oh my goodness, that he's not getting the resistance that he got last time. He's not. This isn't the same the Trump 1.0, where they've got all their people and all their apparatchiks, and they've got people around him. What do they call the adults surrounding him in the room? He doesn't have that. He doesn't have that problem anymore. And further than that, Trump is on a completely different path than he was before. Before, he was trying to say, okay, I won the election. I'm going to try and go along to get along. That ain't happening anymore. They're done with that. Trump's done with that whole idea. No, he is accomplishing what he thinks he was elected to do. And I would be hard pressed to say that he's going to stop just because they're upset. I don't think that's going to happen at all. I think Trump is full steam ahead, and he knows what he's doing because he thinks this is what he was elected to do, and he's right. This is what we elected him to do. The first term,
That's right.
we told him what he wanted to do the first time, and he was like, okay, well, I'm going to come in and I'm going to try and get as much of my agenda across as I can, but I'm not going to try and rock the boat as bad. And it was a mistake on his part. It was a mistake on his part, and I think he knows that.
No. And we are moving into the era with Russ Vought firing, employees at a rapid clip. That Abigail Spanberger goes out and she said, well, many Virginians lost their jobs. I'm here to restore Virginians' work. I wasn't aware that a state governor can actually hire federal employees. Interesting. They are completely off their feet. They have nowhere to go. They have nothing to run on. They don't represent anything. And we are begrudgingly, by the legacy media and by people in the world, we are begrudgingly going into meritocracy again. We're getting there. It's a slow, arduous process, but even politics. This is why Katie Porter's having such a tough time. This is why Jay Jones is having such a tough time. This is why Abigail Spanberger is having such a tough time. This is why Gavin Newsom won't even get off the ground before he even tries to start. They're all going to have a tough time with this because they have been riding this wave of astroturfing and big money flooding into local races, and they can just ride the wave. They don't have to have policy. They don't have to have personality. And I'm telling you, that is not what's happening right now. And we are entering that era. And whether people want to admit it or not, whether they see it or not, you will see it in 6 months. I want to remind people, by the way, it's October of 2025. This president was just sworn in back in January of 2025. Most people at their post within this cabinet are anywhere between 6 and 8 months in. And look at the progress that we've already gotten. There's still 3 years left. What do you think this looks like when the entire world, and Keir Starmer embarrasses himself because he thought he's going to go up and speak to the world about this peace deal with Israel and the Middle East, and he was clowned and shoved back in line because Trump was simply acknowledging him, not getting him a microphone at all. And Trump understood foreign policy just as much as he understands domestic policy. Guys, I don't know how else to say this. We still have 3 years left. We are not even remotely getting started. And there's a press conference that is kicking off tomorrow between Trump and Kash Patel. What do you think is going to roll out tomorrow at noon Pacific or 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time? What do you think is going to roll out tomorrow? James Comey is out here fighting, saying, this prosecutor at an EDVA, she's not even actually confirmed. She has no business bringing this case against me. This is how down bad they are. And so I would encourage people. You brought up Steve Bannon-Hill, and the one thing that I've always kind of stuck with on Steve Bannon was he always made this quote: ignore the noise and find the signal. And I'm telling you, find the signal. And the signal is this administration is not effing around. A bunch of people are about to find out. And I would encourage people going into midterms in 2026 to remember that fact that people are going to find out. No one's effing around anymore. And I know that they're trying to make a bunch of noise in this Virginia race. And I know a bunch of money from outside of Virginia went into this race for Abigail Spanberger, but there's nobody in Virginia that's supporting her. Her ideas are bad. She wants medically assisted suicide. She wants grown sexual predators in women's bathrooms and little girls' bathrooms. They want actual confirmed sexual predators who are in school to be moved to other school districts to keep it quiet, as we remember what happened in Loudoun County. So, and what's going on in Fairfax. All of this is crumbling down. By the way, did you guys see the data on the non-binary and trans identifying data of the younger generations right now? It's tanked. It's gone. All of this is wrecked. All of it is destroyed. And I want to remind people that we still have 3 years and 3 months left of an administration when we lead into the next 8 years, when we actually build. Right now, it's about tearing this machine down. And this machine was censorship, astroturfing, social media companies. It was legacy media. It was corporations that capitulated to Occupy Wall Street that said, listen, you leftists are really good at protesting. We will put up rainbow flags on our social medias if you don't protest us, because you guys are way more effective than the right is. And then the right understood things. They understood Cracker Barrel. They understood Bud Light. They understood Tractor Supply. Robbie Starbuck came out. He understood the assignment. He got all these things done. The culture is moving. The politics are moving. And do not get caught up in the noise, because it is desperation. And I can't say this any more clearly. Stay focused. Find the signal. Ignore the noise, because the noise is going to get louder and louder the worse and worse they get. And social media, although it has been, to Walt's point earlier, and I agree with this, because like the East Palestine, Ohio stuff started here on X with me and Millie and you, Walt, and then eventually, Nick Sorter and Tucker Carlson picked it up, and all of a sudden, Mayor Rudy Giuliani's with Millie down on scene, and everyone's ignoring Pete Buttigieg. That was early in the transformation. It does happen here, but it doesn't happen in a vacuum. It's simply a piece or a part. And it is simply an observation of where the culture and the politics are moving. And so I would encourage everyone to stay the course, stay focused, look at the signal, ignore the noise, ignore all these apparatchiks. I have seen more account pushing fake left-wing propaganda that I didn't even know existed. That tells me that they're reformatting and they're bringing out the fake accounts to bring out this astroturfing. And I'm here to tell you, that means they're losing. That's not means they're winning. And so, again, sorry for the rant. It's just something that's bothered me, because I'm like, I don't see anything but winning. And the Democrats, the more they lean into this Schumer siesta, the more they lean into all these like ridiculously unpopular 20-80 positions versus the 80-20, 90-10 that we take on the MAGA Maha side, the more that they're going to lose, and the more noise they're going to make. They're going to do more extinction burst events because they didn't get their soda when they put the dollar in the machine, and they're going to kick that. They're going to kick that vending machine because they didn't get what they asked for. They put the money in and they didn't get it back out. And Kamala Harris was the epitome of this. Joe Biden, the auto pen, was a symptom. Kamala Harris was the epitome of what this represents. She didn't win a primary. She didn't win an election. She was not popular. She's not popular now. That's why she drinks more now. Guys, we are winning. Don't take your eye off the prize. That's all I got to say. Well, if you want to follow up.
Well, and that's the point. Yeah, I mean, this is the point. This is why the name of the show this evening was watching the Democrats panic, because that's what I see when I see this many accounts out there. This many, constant barrage of leftist nonsense all over the timeline. This means they pulled out all the stops because, oh no, is what I see. I see them going, oh, wait a minute here. And here's something that I said a couple months ago, actually. I said, you know what's going to happen is they're going to pull out all the stops as they get towards the end of the election period. And the problem is that they think that their astroturf is going to work the same as it used to, but it's not. Because it's not going to work. It's not going to work the same as it used to. It's not the same as it used to be. It's not going to have the same effect, because it's not going to be able, you're not going to be able to turn the tide of social media pressure in one direction, okay? You can't just turn and flip a switch like you used to be able to. They used to be just a click and it's on and off, and they've got total control of the narrative, and there's nothing they can do to stop it. And, but the deal is go look at all these posts, okay? Like, go out yourself, go look at Democrat politicians' talking points, and then go look at the comment sections on those, okay? Do you see a bunch of people saying, oh, yeah, I totally agree with you? No, what you see is a massive wave of people saying, you guys are lunatics. I mean, they are just getting barraged everywhere. They're getting ratioed on all their posts. All of these, like all of this astroturf that they push out, all the money that they just obviously stuck and shoved a whole bunch of money into this machine very, very quickly. That's why it's all over the timeline. It's very clear to anybody that pays attention to this stuff that it's obvious. But the deal is that it doesn't work anymore. You don't have the ability to immediately switch the narrative, because one, if like we talked about the other night on here, on that there's a 51% swing on X alone in users that use this platform, because your astroturf has been annihilated. It is gone. It is done. It is dead, and you can't bring it back overnight. You can try, but it's very obvious to everybody when you do it. And that's what as soon as I saw it, I was like, it's all over the place. They're trying everything they can, but it's too late now. That's the point. It's too late for them to actually bring it back in the opposite direction. Now, you can't undo the damage that has happened because we saw this months ago. We saw this race. We saw the different stuff that's happened in Virginia. We saw in all these other races. We said, okay, we need to start talking about this because we've got other people that are talking about this race over here. We got other people talking about it in New York. Okay, so that means we need to operate in this one. And we started working on it months ago. And now the public opinion has already shifted. The public opinion online has already moved in one direction, and it's not going to come back just because you start pumping out random posts with AI and all your different astroturf methods and a bunch of fake accounts. You're not going to be able to get it back. You can't get it back that quickly because we already controlled the narrative because we saw it 3.5 months ago and we started then. Okay, when we actually have the real organic engagement, talking about this stuff, working on this stuff, you can't shift it the opposite direction easily anymore. You can't just turn something on and it immediately switches. Sure, you can throw it all over our feeds now, but now we're just going to yell at you about it. Like, that's all that's happened. You've put it all over our feeds, and now every single one of your comment sections has just been completely barraged with people saying you guys are lunatics. So it's not working. It's not working, and it's because they tried too late to turn this machine on, and they thought that it didn't matter, and it clearly does matter because now they're panicking, and now they're putting it all over your feed. That's just the reality of the situation. That's where we're at right now.
And Walter, I know we got Sean in the space, and I think we brought him up as speaker, so I know we want to hear from him. But before we go there, I think one other thing that's not being talked about enough is the impact of them losing the youth vote. Like, when I say the youth, I'm talking about like the 18 to 35 vote, that margin that they used to win by a sizable majority forever. The impact of them losing that. Trash made a very good point in the, in how the numbers have shifted on the topic that you had mentioned, Trash, regarding, people viewing themselves as trans or pan or whatever, has dropped significantly. And I'm just going to say this on a personal level. Like, I'm a girl dad. I have a teenage daughter, right? And by most standards, a couple of years ago, she clearly would have been viewed as like woke, right? Like, hated Donald Trump. You see it in her I see it on a personal level in her language, and in that she's like, okay, like, they made Trump kind of punk rock, like a rock star to a lot of these young people. They think he's funny now, and on top of that, they think it's just some of the stuff's just gotten too out of control. And once you lose the youth vote, you lose the memeing ability. You lose TikTok, you lose Snap, you lose all of these platforms that have been undervalued, and they can't get that back. These kids are ruthless.
Well, and that's the thing. You got one thing right, and this is something I've made a point of this on this show before, is that the problem is you lost young men, okay? You lost young men, and you lost it for a very specific reason, because you idiots became hall monitors, okay? That's what you became. You are hall monitors. The left is nothing but hall monitors. You have to introduce yourself and give a pronoun before you speak to somebody. What the hell are you doing? That's not going to work, okay? It's not happening, okay? Young men are not going to follow hall monitors, okay? And the moment that they're given any other option, that's what they follow, okay? So you have hall monitors. We have normal people. In the moment normal people start...
You mean David Hogg? David Hogg didn't work?
Sunlight, you can't interrupt. We got overlapping audio. We got recordings on this stuff. But the deal is, you cannot have hall monitors leading young men. It will never work, okay? It will never, ever, ever work. And you thought it was going to work, and you tried to force it on people, and then all you did is piss off a bunch of young men who are, again, as Chris just said, absolutely ruthless. I mean... You think you're going to convince a bunch of young men to follow you by telling them they have to shut up and follow you. They're just going to laugh at you. They're going to make fun of you endlessly. They're going to create memes for days about how stupid you are. I mean, that was the greatest thing about the giant, enormous woman. What was her name? We called her Gore Light.
Olivia Giuliana.
Yeah, well, it's Gore Light, though. Gore Light, the mansplainer. This is the person that they brought out. And they're like, oh, I'm going to go sit in Call of Duty chat room lobbies and talk to young men. I definitely will be able to get through to them. Like, what? I mean, this is how far they've gone. They have no idea what they're doing. But guys, I do want to welcome Sean to the stage. What's happening, Sean?
It's always nice to jump in. I'm getting into a habit of remembering when I'm prepping and getting stuff ready for tomorrow that you guys are on. I love it. I was just sitting there listening to everything that you and Trash are saying about the current state of the Democrat Party, and their actions speak louder than words, and they definitely look a little rattled. right? I mean, you may see this unified front sort of with the government shutdown. I think that's the only thing that they're actually unified about. I think everything else, they're real kind of jittery. They seem kind of jittery. So I'm excited to see what that means, right? Like, does it mean that we're going to see convictions? I hope. That would be really nice. But no, I was just enjoying listening to you, so it's always nice to come in.
Yeah, I think the point really, Sean, is, and you, I think I mentioned this in one of the many bazillion group chats that I'm in with everybody around here, is that, you know, it's very obvious that everyone's feed over the past like week or so has just suddenly become magically Democrat. Like it's just everywhere. It's just, you know, it's like your whole feed. You turn it like, why am I seeing nothing but Democrat senators talking? Like, I mean, it's just like, it's everywhere. And it's so obvious that it's fake. It's like, you know, okay. Last week or the week before that, I'm sorry, I was having a normal feed on X and the people that I normally interact with. And then this week, it's nothing but Democrats saying, well, don't you see how bad Trump is? Look how evil he is. Like, oh my goodness. Like, this is so contrived. It's just hysterical to watch. I mean, they have no idea what they're doing.
No, and it's, for me, this happened a couple weeks ago. It started. I maybe yelled at the Krasensteins like once or twice. And then maybe jump back in those comments to yell at like a couple of other people who are then yelling at me, which is just, whatever. It is what it is. I know they kind of benefit from that, but I sometimes I just have to have a little bit of fun. And then all of a sudden, like, it was all left-wing people. I was like, what on earth happened here? So I just went into my lists and whatnot and used that instead. But it's a little better now, but it's still pretty left-heavy. I had to really start just kind of hitting people's replies on the right to kind of fix it a little bit, and it fixed it somewhat. But I was wondering if it was kind of an operation that was taking place, right? Did that happen because I did something, but then all of a sudden I saw everybody, conservatives that were like, "Hey, my feed is leftist. What is going on?" I was like, "Uh-huh." So yeah, I mean, there definitely looks like there's some sort of coordination. Somebody gamed the system somewhere, but. I don't remember if it was you, Walt, or Trash who said it. Like, all right, so now you're showing up on a bunch of conservative people's feeds. We're all yelling at them still. Like, not talking to you made you come here. So talking to you, if it doesn't make you go away, if you're here, I'm going to yell at you. So it was just like their comment section is just for lack of a better term, bloodbath, internet, bloodbath. And that actually works against them. Right? I know a lot of people who don't reply to posts and they just look at comments, and the comments are not very good.
Yeah, the comments are terrible, and that's the point, really, right? Like it's hysterical to watch this. Like if you go over and look at like Jay Jones is my favorite. Like who is telling this guy to post? Like are you insane? Like are you completely out of your mind? Like I don't know whose idea this was to get him back on Twitter and posting on a regular basis. Like every single one of his posts right now have like 8,000 comments, and they're all like, "You're a despicable person. What is wrong with you? Like, why are you in the race? Drop out, you lunatic!" Like, it's brutal. It is brutal, and they're doing it anyway. It's the strangest thing in the world. Like, I don't understand it. I don't understand why they think this is going to play well for them. Like, all you have to do is just go scroll, and like every single one of them's like, Jay Jones, he wants to stand up for all Virginians. Unless you're a conservative, then he just gives you 2 bullets. Like, I mean, it's just like, oh God, like it's everywhere.
Yeah, I remember seeing that one about him. I'm going to stand up for everybody in Virginia, and the comments were just littered with, "Oh, except Todd Gilbert," like, and all these. And it's terrible that like we can even make that, not joke, but make that kind of statement, because like this is the way he's talking. That's why, when the whole thing came out with these texts, whatever, with the young Republicans, people are like, "Oh," and I'm like, "Who? Honestly, I don't care. I really don't." All right, this is first of all rule number 1 in any group chat that I always take into every group chat, and I love everybody, and I'm in a lot of group chats with a lot of people in here. I just assume everything that I post is getting screenshotted at some point. It's what I assume. So, every time I send a text, I'm like, I could defend that.
Exactly. That's exactly what I opened the show with, Sean. I was literally like telling people, I was like, look, how do you not understand this yet? You're in a group chat. Everything you say will most likely somehow end up hurting you if you say something stupid. Like any text you send in any scenario, I don't care if you're texting your grandmother, make sure it's a text that you'd be willing for 1,000 people to read. Okay, that's the way I look at it, and that's the way it's. In my point to people is that it is actually easier to do that. It is so much easier if you just act the same in every scenario, then you don't have to worry about it. I don't ever worry about, like, if someone's like, oh, I've got your DMs, like, oh no. Like, you know, I probably sent the same thing to my brother. Like, I don't care. Like, it doesn't matter to me. Like, I mean, it's always going to be the same. I'm going to act the same on here as I do in a text message, as I do in person. None of that stuff changes just because of there's a different scenario around it. I mean, like, it makes it life so much simpler if you just act like that. And instead of having to worry, like, oh no, what about that one DM I sent to that one weird person months ago? Like, I mean, sorry, I don't have to worry about that problem. I don't have that problem.
Exactly. That's what I take into it. And then when I see everybody, you know, getting caught up in this, I'm like, all right, well, you know, take that approach in, understand that everything in a group chat is most likely going to find its way out. If you say something stupid, I couldn't have put it better, you know, myself. So that was good the way you put that. That's the perfect way to put it. But the other thing is, like, Vance replied to it, I think, perfectly, and was like, okay, if you want to talk about text, let's talk about text. Because what's honestly worse? A bunch of kids making jokes amongst themselves. They think it's just amongst themselves, right? What's worse, that making jokes? I mean, listen, I'm not saying some of this stuff wasn't abhorrent and gross and, you know, ugly. Fine, it was. But I don't care because I was never supposed to know. It's not something that concerns me. I don't care what's going on. I'm not the group chat police. You mentioned people acting like hall monitors. That's like the, you know, that's the Karen of our day. The HOA Karen. You blade of grass too long in the HOA? Fine. No, you know, I mean, that's why I don't live in one of those. But look at these texts and Vance go, okay, you want to talk about text? Let's talk about text, because over here you have a bunch of kids saying some stupid things and some ugly things and some real detestable things. Fine. That ain't as bad as someone who's running to be the top law enforcement official in the state of Virginia fantasizing about his political opponents and their children getting killed. I'm sorry. Nothing in that Politico leaked nonsense with the young Republicans was even close to as bad as what was in Jay Jones's text. So we want to talk about text. I think Vance did it perfectly. Let's talk about text now that you want to talk about it, because that will absolutely obliterate that race in Virginia.
That's exactly right. I mean, this is the point, okay? Like, there is no moral equivalence between the two. And I love the Democrats they're running with it, which is the most insane thing in the world. Like, if you guys were smart, you wouldn't bring up anything to do with texts at all ever again. Like, you just never, if anytime someone said text, you would just completely block the account or mute it or something. Like, that would be the smart move for you. But instead, no, they're like, oh, yeah, see, this is just as bad. Why don't you condemn these people? Like, I don't know those people. Like, I love it to say, why don't you disavow them? Like, I would have to avow them first. Wouldn't I have to do that? Do I need to sign first? Like, I would prefer to have to avow them first before I then disavow. I mean, so I don't know who any of those people are. So I would have to have known them, avowed them, and then I could disavow them. But since I had to have no clue who any of them are, none of that matters to me. Okay, like, the difference between that and your attorney general candidate that is actually running for the top law enforcement position in Virginia, it talks about how he wants the children of his political opponents to die in their mother's arms. I'm sorry, there's just no freaking comparison, people. Like, there's just nothing. Like, I'm sorry, I don't buy it. I don't care. But you want to bring up texts, then be my guest.
Right, that's what I said. I mean, that's what I said. You want to do text? Let's do text. I know a couple of those guys. I've mixed it up with a few of them before. Nice guys. I still don't care. I will not disavow anything. I don't like what they said. But they were joking. I don't care. Like, if we're going to everybody's text, everybody's made a messed up joke about something at some point in time. Okay, so like, I ain't judging anybody off of their group text. Now, their judgment, putting that in a group text, and now being shocked that it got out, you can't be shocked. Right, you got to think that it's eventually going to happen.
That's
so you
right.
Can't be shocked. Whenever you send a message in the group chat, I'm always like, I could defend that if I ever had to. It's not about being fake, but it is about playing the game smart. You never know. I don't do that. I don't screenshot group chats. I don't do stupid crap like that. But somebody does. Other people do. But I just don't care about a couple of jokes being cracked. I don't care that they're nasty jokes. I just don't care about them. You want to do text? We'll have the conversation. It makes me think, like, almost as a side of me, we're like, is it 5D chess? Did they release the text just to get the Democrats talking about text? I don't think that's what happened. But, like, imagine right? Because this is the one thing they can't talk about is text messages. They're like, oh, look, bad text. Wait a second. Your guy wants people to die and is doubling down on it in his text. Yeah, let's talk about text.
Yeah, exactly. It's amazing to me. It's just another instance of them thinking that they can regain the narrative. And I'm sorry, you're not. I mean, it's just not going to work for you. You can try, but it's not going to look. It doesn't look good for you. I don't care how you do it. You are the one now bringing texts up again. You're welcome to do so, please. And I even said that, actually. I think I put a post out within like the first hour or so of this breaking. And I was like, you guys want to think that this is even, please go right ahead and try and claim that this is just as bad. Like, feel free. You want to talk about text messages? Like, I'm not concerned about that at all. I mean, these people, I don't know if any of these people, and maybe other people know who they are. Sorry, I don't know any of them. I don't have to disavow anything. And I also don't play by your rules. Your rules in this scenario are we're not going to, and by the way, not a single mainstream Democrat is going to reduce or rescind their endorsement from a guy who literally called for the deaths of his political opponent's children. You guys aren't even disavowing that. You're not condemning him. You're not calling him to get out of the race. I don't care what you have to say about text messages. It doesn't matter to me. Like, I mean, if you had come out, all of you, and immediately condemned Jay Jones and said you must leave the race right away, maybe you could have had some sort of moral argument here, but you don't, because you didn't, and you're all still endorsing him. Like, it's the most insane thing ever.
Yeah, the last thing I'll say on that is, you mentioned that they're trying to make these text messages as bad as the Jay Jones text, and that's like when they said Jimmy Kimmel getting suspended was as bad as Charlie Kirk getting killed. Right?
That's right.
So they're losing on every side of this whole thing. Whether it's Don Lemon saying, well, crossing the border illegally isn't illegal. It's just illegal, even though it's not really illegal. It's a misdemeanor. It's not a crime. It's a crime, but it's not actually a crime. And it's rules, not law. But when you break the law, you break the rules. He was twisting himself into a pretzel in that whole thing. They are losing on all, because it's all common sense. It's all common sense stuff. It is common sense. Americans are like, all right, those texts, bunch of kids, stupid, dumb comments, don't really like it. But a lot of them are also going to go, but I don't know those guys, and I don't care. That guy who wants his political opponents to die is running to be the top law enforcement official in Virginia. That's a little bit worse, much more significant, and I think the world sees that.
Yeah, I think that everybody sees through this stuff. I mean, this is the reality of the scenario. Common sense is on the rise again, and I don't think that anybody that has any rational sense to them is going to be like, okay, I've seen the text messages from a statewide official, a guy running for a statewide position, and then I see random text messages out of context in a Politico article from people that I've never heard of. Who cares? Sorry, again, who cares? You're not going to convince a whole bunch of people that they need to worry about the Young Republicans group chat. Okay, it's just not going to work, guys. But it is funny to watch the Democrats flail about. Sean, did you watch the amazing video of them storm into the empty speaker's office about how, whatever it is that they're talking about? I don't even know what they were protesting, but it was very funny to watch.
I didn't see it, and I'm just hoping that when I do see it, none of them are singing, because that's one of the things that they do that's really, really painful to watch.
They will overcome. So what happened was... What happened was they stormed, they created this line, this parade of Democrats, and they were going to storm Mike Johnson's office to say, you must seat this incoming congresswoman. You must hear our demands. And they were protesting to an empty office because Mike Johnson's not in session. He was not in his office. And so they had all these printed signs and they had all the media. And then you had like this rep from California yelling at the press saying you're not getting the right angle. And no one was there to receive this convoy of democracy. And you have to see it. It's quite spectacular.
Yeah, that's good content for you, Sean. You'll enjoy it. I will say they weren't singing. It's unfortunate. They were not singing. You said you won't be able to add it to your lineup.
No, that's very fortunate. But we do have to think about Walter, though. We're doing a Grammy. We'll do a Song of the Year at the end. So we'll see what it is.
Yeah.
One of them's winning an award.
I saw your post about that. I was like, I can't wait for that. That's going to be fantastic. We were actually rating just the other week. We were rating one of their songs, their performances. We gave it a 7.5. We thought it was okay. They kept on key that time. No one fell over. They actually did manage to. Someone had a metronome with them or something. They were actually all on a similar beat. So we gave that one a 7.5. It wasn't terrible.
Was that This Land Is My Land? Is that one that was tolerable? I think I was listening to it.
Yeah,
and I was
that's
like,
it.
oh.
That's right. That's the
I
one.
was like, yeah. This isn't as bad as it usually is. There was one lady started howling once, ironically in a sombrero with a mariachi band. It was foreshadowing.
Oh my goodness. Unironically. I love this stuff, man. I love it. Guys, we are actually well over time at this point now, so I do hope everybody
Hang on,
enjoyed.
before we go any further,
Yes, go ahead.
I
Go ahead.
promised Irish MAGA gal. I have never heard her from before. And
Oh,
she's had
right,
her hand
yes.
up. She's been very patient.
Yes, absolutely. Sorry, I forgot we had another hand here. We got Sean up here on the show, so make sure you get in here, Irish. Go ahead.
Thank you guys so much. And I'm a fan of all of yours. Listen, I live in Virginia and I live in Northern Virginia in like the bluest of the blue territory. And I just want to suggest that.
She just disconnected right before.
I did not do that. Like,
No, I
clear,
saw it. I just
act
watched
like
her
I
go.
don't do that when I launch people. Like, hold on. So I act like I don't do that when I actually do that. Like it's a thing. It's a character defect. It's a part of me. I did not do that.
No, I see. I literally watched it go straight to connecting. Oh wait, is she back on here now? It shows her back as speaker.
I just sent
Mag,
her
are
an
you
invite.
back?
I want to hear about Deep Blue Virginia, Novo. I want to hear about Nova, Deep Blue.
Are you back
I sent her
here,
an
Irish MAGA? It shows her as a speaker for me now. I don't know. That is unfortunate.
Walt, especially with what you were saying with your sourcing in Northern Virginia and in the lower than expected turnout or lower than required turnout, and then she goes and says that I want to give a suggestion, and then like cut out.
Yeah, it's like it was like 1 second before she said something too. Like I was like, oh come on, like.
What
Well,
goes on in Northern Virginia? Is there any kind of like weird, like internet connected type activity going on in Northern Virginia?
oh, I don't know. CIA, NSA, Comey.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay, probably. Yeah, I'm sure it's a coincidence that we've had.
Well, we'll have to invite Irish MAGA back on the show at some point here. Then we'll have
We'll
to
get her up.
Yeah, we'll get her
We'll
back.
get her up.
Irish MAGA, if you are listening, if you got disconnected, I have to apologize to you because we do have to end the show this evening. We are over time already. Thank you guys, everybody, who showed up this evening. This is the Political Theater, weeknights at 9. We'll be back tomorrow night at 9 p.m. for more of the theater. Thank you guys for joining us. Make sure you guys follow all my speakers up on my stage here. I've got great guys up here on stage. Make sure you follow myself and Trash Discourse. It's at WC Dispatch and at Trash Discourse. Make sure you follow the new Political Theater account. Share the content that we put out here, guys. And if you want to support the show, you can always go to WCDispatch.com and you can always check out Trash's Substack as well. It's usually only $5 a month for dudes who subscribe to the show. Supports the show. It's just the two of us that run this thing. We've got a rotating co-host, and we had Sean Farash up here on the stage this evening. It's always great to see Sean. And Christopher Moreno is always a rotating co-host. So thank you guys for joining us this evening. We'll see you guys tomorrow night at 9 p.m. for more of the theater. Thanks, guys.
Some folks are born with a liberty spark. Their hearts beat red, white, and blue. When the anchors sneer and the cameras bark, they turn the lens right back at you. Truth bound, ain't for sale, ain't for sale. We're not the party line sons, no, we ain't for sale, ain't for sale. We're the vigilant ones, so. Some folks inherit silk-lined halls, spend our sweat while preaching share. But when the tax man wraps his knuckles raw, their mansions suddenly look bare, impaired. Ain't for sale, ain't for sale. We're not their banker-raised hairs, no. Ain't for sale, ain't for sale. We're the vigilant ones, so. Yes, some paint stars on press room lies and send the common men to toil. Ask them, how much truth will you trade tonight? They mutter, more noise, more noise, more noise. Ain't for sale, ain't for sale. Not the theater's pawns, friend. It ain't for sale, ain't for sale. We're America's steadfast one. No, we won't be spun.